What's going on, everybody? It's your boy PTK Blam back in the building with another episode of the Shop Podcast. How are you beautiful people doing? We are back another Saturday afternoon / evening. Got some beautiful people, as you can see. We're already one guy short. Fuzz ain't here yet, but I'm sure he'll slide through here shortly. But shout out to everybody watching live, man. I do have to say something too. I know a lot of you guys watch the show on Twitter. I gotta get a premium account. I didn't realize they switched it so you couldn't stream on Twitter, if you're not premium. So once I get a premium account, we will be streaming back on Twitter as well too. So just come straight to YouTube from now, at least until I get a premium account. But otherwise, man, let's get into some of these pleasantries. We got a great group of people, got a full panel, got a packed house. I'm sure there's gonna be more people falling through. But let's get to some of these guests, man, and not really guests, they family at this point. You guys have seen all of these gentlemen here before, but we're gonna start with Mr. Captain Logan. How you doing, brother? I see you had the collared shirt on, looking all smexy.
Well,
how you doing?
I'm good, man. I was doing really good until Umber came in. And you're like, oh, here comes the sexy, and I was like, okay, recognize it's Saturday afternoon. My fit's a little comfy. I'll go dress up. That's fine. It's a big Gamescom episode. We got a lot of news to talk about, so I got to look good too. So here I am. I'm happy to be here. Thank you so much for that invite, man. I've been looking forward to it all week. Been talking about how we're going to be jumping into all kinds of very not controversial stuff, I'm sure.
Facts. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, very, very dry week. Nothing going on, obviously. But shout out to you, Logan. Appreciate you coming through, brother. Always love. You guys know all the information is down in the description chat. You guys go follow these awesome gentlemen, friends and family. They're awesome people, man. You guys will not be disappointed at all when you go check that content out, man. Let's move along here. Got my boy Umbra, UE5, Mr. UE5 himself. How you doing, brother? Glad to have you.
Oh, I'm doing great, man. Especially with the introduction of UE5 before my name. That makes me feel.
As you can tell, I kind of stuttered while I said it to make it realistic.
Hey, now that's Pong's job. That's Pong's job to give me a hard time. But listen, I'm speaking of UE5. You see Black Myth Umbra. You see him, so you can kind of see what I've been up to.
Oh yeah,
I am loving that game, man. I will tell you though, the problems I did notice the stuttering. I will be honest. It's one of the first times I actually paid attention and said, let me check this stuttering thing out. And when you're running and such, like I'm at 60 plus frames per second.
Yeah.
I got the 4080 Super. And you definitely see it. You definitely notice it. So I was like, oh, this is what they were talking about. Okay. So I get it. UE5, I think, is just GPU. It's GPU heavy. So it's just too much for these consoles. And that's why it's playing terribly on PlayStation and why you ain't seeing any reviews for it on PlayStation.
Kind of like your ego's too much for podcasts, right?
Yeah, hey.
Podcast shows are so terrible when you're
tough.
on, right? Yeah,
if both of us can make it in here, we can make it anywhere.
Facts.
But it is a good game as far as things go, as far as combat, and the visuals are nice. Somebody said, I know our brother Fun said it too, but I disagree. He said that this is the most beautiful UE5 game. I disagree. Hellblade 2 still takes the crown. And once you play it, you'll see what I mean. Like visually, it's gorgeous. You'll see the landscape, nice, beautiful, the lighting, all of that. But once you look closer, you'll see that there's a clear difference. Hellblade 2 still holds that crown for me, being honest. But it's a good game. Terrible story. Sorry to say it. You barely know what's going on. You're just kind of running around attacking people. It is what it is.
Yeah, I figured that wasn't going to be the primary primary reason people were playing.
Yeah, it's the same here. But happy to be here with you fellas, and even here with you too, Pong. And let's get this show on the road.
Let's get it, man. Let's get it. Shout out to you, Umber, for coming through, man. Appreciate the love. Once again, you guys go follow every single person on this panel, man. Got some great gamers here. We got a packed show, man. Appreciate all you guys. Hit the like button, thumbs up, all that good stuff, man. You guys know what to do when you're here at the shop, man. Much love, man. We also got another guest, and this is 2 weeks in a row. We got a guest coming out of quarantine to hang out with us. But shout out to you, Web Dave. Appreciate you, brother, for coming on, man. I know you're a little bit under the weather, but glad you can make it.
Nah, man, I appreciate the invite. When you send up the signal, I'm not gonna deny it. Jeez, this is exciting, and this is an honor to be here. So thank you, and of course, what an amazing company that we have with us tonight. So thank you, sir. Appreciate the invite.
You guys' voices make me sound very, very adolescent. That's crazy. Between you and Logan, man, this is crazy.
I was in radio for
that's true.
years. So.
That's true. Yeah, I got a lot of radio voices on the show tonight. But shout out to you, Dave, for coming through, man. Appreciate you. Like you said, you're right. We got a lot to talk about, man. So let's get around the panel here, man. You guys go follow Dave, too. You guys know what to do. GamersOutbreak.com as well. Go check that out. Good stuff. But my brothers are also in the house, the two best damn co-hosts that you could possibly ask for. Couldn't ask for better gamers to hang out with me every single Saturday. Mr. Pong Soul, brother. How you doing, man? I know I got your arch nemesis in here. I tried to tell you early in the week. I know it probably doesn't even matter if I give you a heads up in advance, but hopefully we can make it through today.
As we get closer to showtime, I just feel more and more sick knowing that I'm going to have to listen to that, man. I told you I almost called in sick tonight just because of it. You were just talking about how, these guys' voices make you feel a certain way. Well, at least we got Umbra that makes everybody feel smarter when he's on panel. So listening to him, so it's good. It's just a little trade off there, but that's okay. No, it is fantastic to be back here. Obviously, been looking forward to another great Saturday night with my brothers, of course, UPTK and Fuzzy. But of course, always the guests and a little surprise having Captain Logan show up as well, which is amazing as always. Love his take. Love his opinions, and of course having Web Dave, who is actually sick, unlike Fun Speculation, Mr. Sniffles, who
you're not going to do that to Mav.
I'm going to continue to do it to Mav, Mr. Big Baby. Web actually sounds like he's sick, so he is actually gutting it out tonight. So appreciate you, Web, showing up. And as much as Umbra we give each other shit. Umbra, love having you on, brother. So great to have you here as always, sir. Yeah, man, we got a lot to get into. What a big week. Gamescom, good, bad, ugly, everything in between, man. It felt like Gamers Christmas Part 2 all over again. It really did, especially if you weren't paying attention so much that you remove yourself, from the Indiana Jones and third party and 30 frames, you move yourself away from that and you look at what Gamescom did and you start watching the dev interviews and you start watching some of the new footage that the games actually brought. And this was like E3. This was actually even probably bigger just in terms of how many different things were shown here than, what Xbox still is trying to do E3 time. It feels like more people got together for Gamescom here, and it was really dope. I haven't even gotten through all of the stuff because it's happening during work time. So because it's on the other side of the world. So for us, this is one of those bad times, right? Where I'm like, oh my God, I can't watch any of this. So I'm still catching up on it, but it was a great week. High energy, lots of cool stuff showing. 2025 is already building out yet again. It's going to be the third year in a row that we are just sitting back going, holy shit, what are we going to do with all these games, man? Been a great week so far, gaming wise. Listen, I always come on here and try to sell everybody on something, right? So I've been playing First Ascendant, of course. That's my game. The one I'm going to try to sell you on this week, everybody, is Shadows of Doubt. This is a PC only game for right now. It's in early access. It dropped last year in April in early access, but it is actually going to be dropping into full 1.0 in September. So if you have Steam, if you got a PC, listen, Shadows of Doubt is a game I've been following for a while, and I finally dropped into it. It is a immersive sim sandbox game. Now, it is in the voxel style, right? So think Minecraft-y. So if you're okay with that style, then we're already way ahead of the curve and you need to look at this game. Because as far as an open world kind of immersive sim game, this thing is doing a lot of goodness. Now, this is set in a cyberpunk kind of city. Every time you drop into a new city, it is procedurally generated, so it is going to be fresh. Every single NPC runs their own life while you're there or while you're not around them. So they go to work, they go home, they go to sleep, they have the full cycle. Okay, so that's already dope. And it all happens behind the scenes, no matter what. You are open. You are a detective in a cyberpunk kind of future setting where you can go. Your job is to go, obviously solve crimes. and you can solve the crimes any freaking way you want to. So you can break into people's apartments. You can basically walk into any building you want to. You can hack into computers. You can watch CTVs. You could use the camera systems. You can go through the ventilation systems. You can interrogate people. You can arrest people. You can accuse people. You can falsely accuse people. You can pretty much do what you want to in this game to solve the crime, right? There's consequences, of course.
Mm-hmm.
You can get beat down. You know, there's a high alert city. You got gun turrets. Again, this is set in the future a little bit. So you got gun turrets if you break through security and you get caught. There's all that kind of stuff in this game. But Shadows of Doubt is a super. I played about 5 hours of this game. I'm still playing through the tutorial just to kind of learn the mechanics. So it gives you a crime and then it kind of helps you along as you go. It's got a big giant board that you can pin anything that you find to it as far as evidence, even if it's not related to the crime, but you just want to pin it up there, you can pin it, and it starts doing with the red string connecting depending on where you found stuff. Listen, Shadows of Doubt is a great game. $25 early access right now. I picked up for $10 on one of the key sites. Well worth it. Again, if you can get over the voxel stuff, because again, it's not the, you know, some people think it's ugly and it's not pretty. It's not up to date. It's not like it's going to blow your mind. It's not UE5, right? It's not going to triple. Again, what it's doing though, as far as like a Dishonored type game, allowing you freedom to go figure out how you want to, go about your time in the world. This is up there, man. So Shadows of Doubt, go check that out. Yeah.
All right.
Shadows of Doubt is like that pixelated kind of game, right?
Yeah, voxel style.
Voxel style.
Okay.
So it's Minecraft-y voxel style. Yes, correct.
Got you. Okay.
Yeah, the reason why it always popped up to me, Umbra, was because it was it's been out since last year, but it started popping up in my feed. A lot of people, it's got like 10,000 reviews on Steam and it's mostly positive, right? But
Nice.
it started popping up on X all the time, and it was around the same time that Nobody Wants to Die started appearing, right? And they both had that cyberpunk with that neon pink lettering in the background. So I was always like, is that the same game? I'm like, no, it's a totally different game. So I started looking at it, and then I started reading about it. I'm like, immersive sim, open world sandbox in a city. Like, I'm like, oh, I got to check this thing out. And then I started watching some videos, started watching some people play it a little bit. It's really dope, man. I'm not the biggest voxel guy. Sometimes I don't really like those games, but again, just how the game gives you the freedom is special. Like, that is cool. Like, you go knock on people's apartment doors and they'll come answer the door. And then you could ask them like for information, and they can tell you to F off, or sometimes they'll give you information. You can even say, hey, can I come in and check around your apartment, look at things? And sometimes they'll be like, no. And then sometimes they'll be like, sure, I got nothing to hide. Come on in. And they don't have to be related to your case at all. They're just random people, but then you can find their wallets in their houses and you can collect their information that's all stored in the game. So you start building out profiles of people in the city. It's really cool, man. It's really cool.
That sounds dope. That really sounds dope.
They're a little too forgiving. Let people come in their house and just
I know. Right? That's what I was thinking too. When people say
AI not realistic.
Oh, yeah.
Not quite. But shout out to you, Pong, for being here. Like I said before, man. You guys go check the game. You know, Pong, every single week, man. Got to make sure we get that in. But shout out to you, Pong. Appreciate you, brother. Last but not least, the boy Fuzzy Belvedere sliding. Now, how you doing, Fuzz? What's up, bro?
Sorry for coming in here a little bit late, but I greatly appreciate being here today with you guys. Always a fun time, and with our special guest here tonight, this is going to be a good episode. But just been playing Diablo, falling back into it before the expansion and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Played a little bit of Starfield earlier today, getting used to the new buggy, I guess you could say, and then still playing Forza. So it's my usual, go-to games right now. Kind of waiting for Indiana Jones later on this year, but not looking to start anything new just yet, and still on the fence if I want to pick up Black Myth Wukong right now or wait a little bit and catch it on a good sale. But just hanging out, watching people on Twitter either lose it or ignore bad. Well, I wouldn't say bad publicity, but like a game that's not doing so well, and everybody's like crickets about
we're not gonna ignore it. We'll get into that for sure.
But just Twitter being Twitter, or X being X, I guess. But glad to be here. awesome guests on here tonight. Yeah, let's get into it.
Let's get into it, man. We let you guys sit and hang out long enough, chat. But shout out to all you guys, man. We got a lot to talk about. And we jumping off the porch here, man. We starting obviously with Gamescom, the biggest thing that happened this week. A great show, and I got a few things to say right off the rip. So, a couple things. Jeff Keighley, I got to give him a little bit of credit. Okay, so that show was a far better show than last year's show. That show, in my opinion, was better than his summer show. Far better than the summer show. The only thing that I think that it wasn't better than was probably the Xbox show. So it probably was a second best showcase if you don't include the Developer Direct this year, in my opinion. So shout out to Keighley. He has improved the show every year, but got to make sure I get that out of the way, man. But let's start with you. We'll start with you, Umbra, on this one, man. I got a couple quick questions. One about Gamescom, man. So obviously, we're just going to get into everything about Gamescom. Would you watch? Would you like? But there's some specifics. So I want to know your game of the show, okay? And then after the show, what was your most anticipated? Did that change from when the show started to when it ended?
I agree. First off, I'll say I agree with you. This show was better than his show this summer.
Yeah, far better.
Far better. And I'll say this, nobody's touching Xbox this year.
No.
Their showcase this year.
Out of there. Out of there.
Untouchable. Yeah. But as far as this, it's the one game on there, and I find myself kind of being drawn more and more to these kind of action / beat 'em ups, whatever you want to call it, the Souls-esque adjacent kind of games. Not quite Souls, but they are Soul adjacent, because Black Myth falls into that, but it's not quite Souls like. The first Berserker.
Okay,
man, it looks so damn.
That showed
good.
Very well.
It now we've seen plenty of that already, so it was no surprise here. It's just more that I'm still anticipating, and I'm happy and excited for next year when it comes out and it drops. Beautifully cel shaded, but mixed with this kind of I don't want to say surreal, kind of a realistic kind of take on. I don't know how to describe it. It's a mixture of cel shading and I guess more realistic kind of filtering and such like that around the body.
It's a really good looking game.
It looks really solid. I love the combat. From what I can tell, it looks really dope. Really excited for that. Also, Space Marines 2, still excited for that. That looks really good. Most of the stuff we saw, we've already known about. That really, really did it for us. I would say Indiana Jones showed well, and I'm sure everyone is going to love that.
Well, it did. I mean, you're not lying. The game showed fantastic. I mean, if we talking about just a video game, right? Like, that's kind of why we here. So the game looked great.
Now it's okay to like it too. So we're good on
that. Yeah, we're good.
So now everybody can like it now. So, and again, it's already starting to happen. Now all of a sudden it's all in, man. Everybody's all about, first person Indiana. Let's fucking go. Looks great. Let's do this. Let's go. Spring. Let's go, spring. Oh man, we got a game coming, boys. Let's go.
Motion sickness for me.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Weird.
You guys think that Dramamine will get in time for spring? Now?
They've got plenty of time to prep, so they should.
Facts.
Yeah, but I would say, as far as new announcements that really excited me, we had a few. I would say the top one that got me the most excited is, I would say, Mafia: The Old Country. Really excited for that. They didn't show us any gameplay, and I hate when people were like posting things like screenshots. I'm like, this is CGI. Why are you posting this? But I'm excited to see them go back to the roots of everything and see how they're going to handle that. I am one of the people who loved part 1, 2, and 3. So I'm down for this 100%.
That was unexpected too. We had no idea. That wasn't a leak. I didn't. My DMs are empty. I hadn't seen that at all. I don't know about you, Umbra. I know you talk to different people. Same.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, same for me. I hadn't heard that. I've heard other things, plenty of other things, but I hadn't heard that. Borderlands actually, I think I did hear about Borderlands, but Borderlands still was a nice surprise, I suppose. But I thought I heard rumblings about that some time back, but I had no idea about Mafia, the Old Country, and especially them taking it back to Italy and everything like that. So I'm loving the way that's the setting for that and how they're going to play that out. Obviously, they're going to touch on Made Men and all that, because that's going to be, I'm guessing the start of it and everything, and La Costa Nostra and all that, So I'm excited to see how that plays out. I I want to go too far because I want to let everyone else get their games out. But those that would be the most excited I am for is first Berserker Kazan and Mafia, the old country. And I agree with you, Logan. It did kind of remind me of Castlevania. It did.
Hella vibes.
It definitely gave me the vibes. And I can see that. Yep.
The anime Castlevania though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Also, facts. Too of even Castlevania. What was it? Shadow.
Yeah.
I can see that kind of call back to that too, although more modernized and beautiful. But
yeah. Reminds me of Berserk too a little bit. The anime Berserk a little bit, kind of those vibes. But
very much
new version.
Yeah. Facts. That cell shaded look and that semi kind of 3D. Even the art's even similar. So didn't catch that right away. But okay, cool, Umber. I'm with you though, man. I Kazan looked phenomenal, bro. We've seen a little bit of that. Obviously, I don't even think it was this year. I think it was last year. We seen a little bit of for the first time. But yeah, I was really impressed with the way it looks. I hopefully that all pans out and it's the way we saw it all the way through. When we see it like hopefully it looks like that, plays like that, because it looks phenomenal. But let's throw this over to you, Logan. Get your opinion, man. Game of the show, most anticipated game, brother. We saw a lot of stuff. Like this show actually had way more surprises than I thought. I thought we get one. We got about 2 or 3. So it was a really, really well put together show.
Are we just talking just like Jeff's thing, or are we going like Gamescom all
I mean, you can do the whole thing. I mean, the entire. Yeah,
I think that this is definitely like one of Jeff's better shows. I think that we got some issues with a couple of things going into it, but overall, I like the thing that really surprised me this week was some more of the gameplay that we got for the Dune Awakening, like the survival game.
Yeah,
there were some of the interviews that were going on talking about like why don't you sandwalk? What's going on with spice? Like how come? Some things look like they're like true to the game, and other ones it looks like some dude just walking around, not really getting things going. And hearing them talk about like how spice is a chemical, but it's also a currency, and how there's a political thing, but how the survival aspect of that is going to like kind of start off strong. So you're trying to figure out like how to get water, and you got to suck it from plants, and then you got to get it from your enemies, and then you got to use like corpse sills and stuff to like pull it from there and purify it and stuff. And talking about like learning how to walk like a Fremen and stuff. And I was just like, dude, I'm kind of down for like a real big first party, like MMO, or not first party, but like a licensed MMO survival style game, like in the Dune world. Like that is an IP that is ripe for content, just given how deep the lore is. And you toss that into a game where it's like, we now know like what a survival game really is, like how to really kind of plan out like how you go about doing construction, how you do survival, like qualities to it that aren't too pressing when it comes to like, am I going to be sitting there like cramming little bits of food and water in my mouth all the time just to play this game, or am I going to be able to go do other stuff? And based on what they've shown, it looks like it's got a lot of depth to it as far as combat goes, things you can do, ways you can approach situations, but the construction aspect of it seems simple enough, and the survival mechanics, but they've kind of segregated you off a little bit at the start just so you aren't thrown into the mix with the rest of the MMO side of it. So really kind of curious to see like, what is a world like when you're living on Dune in that kind of a genre. So that was the one that I was just like, I kind of want to see it. And they talked about how the sandworms are ever present. They're not like a triggered or scripted event, how they're always roaming around.
That's dope.
That was something like playing Sea of Thieves, dude. It's like, oh, it's the Meg. You hit the trigger for the Meg. Or, oh, it's the Kraken. You hit the trigger for the Kraken. And they're never like roaming in the world like some of the other events like we just got with the Burning Blade. So when it talks about like having the sandworms always present in the world and roaming around, and they could be anywhere at that point, just depending on like who's walking or who's driving around on the sand. I'm like, that's kind of cool. I kind of want to see what that AI works like.
Yeah, that's super dope. Okay, all right. I didn't hear a lot of people talk about Dune after the show. I know some people mentioned it. I've seen it on my timeline, but I didn't really see a whole lot of people talking about it. And you're right, it did show extremely well. Great IP, like you said, a ton of history, ton of lore. So something like that might work. And obviously the movies have done fairly well. That helps the game get off to, at least it helps the game have a decent start. Because if it already has that fan base to pull from. So yeah, I'm excited about that too. I don't really play MMOs really ever, to be honest with you. even the free ones. You know what I mean? I don't even
sucked in. You gotta find one that sucked. You got to get a Sherpa. You find a Sherpa like you do for like Destiny 2 or something. It's hard to get out, man.
All right.
I'm already like over here like, got to play World of Warcraft, man. That expansion's coming out.
All right. We'll see. I definitely got to get into something, man. But let's throw this over to Dave, man. And once again, like I was saying, Dave, phenomenal show from start to beginning. I think, and I know we talked about this last week, Pong, that this is probably Jeff's best show. I don't want to say best show overall, but one of probably top 2 show he's ever done since he started doing the summer showcase, the VGA. So very well put together show. But like I asked the gentleman before, your game of the show as well as most anticipated game, either before or afterwards, something that may have got you even more excited.
Gosh, game of the show, that's kind of tough. I mean, Indiana Jones looked really good. So, and just now we got a release date and it's on the right path to to come where we need it to go. Pretty excited for that. The surprise to me was Genshin Impact. That really is that actually is. It's a lot bigger than most people realize. It is a game that needs to be on this platform, as well as a lot of others. But and more of those games that have skipped, as it were, are starting to come into the fold. And from what I've heard, and this is strictly just no definite, just kind of thing, but I've heard that there's a possibility that coming up later in the year at the Tokyo show that we're going to have some more things that are.
Is Xbox even going to be at the Tokyo show? I thought they weren't going to be there.
They don't have to be there.
So
have a strong presence.
Yeah.
There's a lot of companies that are from Japan that will be announcing games that are for the Xbox. Let's just say that. Anyway, I got sidetracked, but yeah, and I'm kind of curious as to what Fuzzy thinks about this when it gets to his turn. But I'm excited for the new Forza, the new game mode. That looks kind of cool, man. So those are the kind of things that really excited me at the show.
Okay, all right, that's fair.
What was it? The hide and seek or something like that, right?
Yeah.
I'm excited for that too.
Fun.
Actually,
that'd be fun.
Looks awesome. Okay. I guess I'll go ahead and throw mine out before we get to Pong and Fuzz. So my game of the show, nobody said it yet. It was pretty surprising, and it's actually surprising for me. Out of everything that I watched, I actually think Black Ops 6 showed best for me. From just the campaign standpoint, the game looked phenomenal. Graphically, it looked great. I'm a Treyarch fanboy, by the way. So I've always thought Treyarch was the better Call of Duty maker between them and Infinity Ward. Multiplayer, zombies, and story-wise. And that I think I feel vindicated because at one point Treyarch wasn't looked at favorably when it comes to Call of Duty fans. So I think they showed well. I think Call of Duty's back for real this time. We're not pump faking 22 times and saying it's back and it's really not back. It's going to do the numbers, but I really think the general excitement around that trailer and just what they showed us got me excited because we haven't had the community all be excited about Call of Duty at once and forever. When's the last time people were excited, generally excited about a Call of Duty across the board? Maybe 5 years ago. I don't even remember which Call of Duty, but it's been a while. So Black Ops 6 for me, I wanted to see the campaign because once again, that's something I played a ton of, all the Black Ops games. I really dove into the campaign. So I'm really happy with that. And then most anticipated, it's kind of my most disappointing too, because we didn't get to see shit, and they dangled the carrot, and it pissed me off. So most of his arc ratings.
I know what you're going.
Yeah, I want to see that game so bad, and I really thought I was so excited.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I rubbed my hands together like Birdman when I found out they were gonna be there, and they just dangled the carrot. I mean, it's cool, the little CG. But I was really hoping we get to see a little bit of gameplay. So, but that's my most anticipated. I'm a Destiny guy. I'm a Division guy. That looks like it's right on my alley. It's a little bit of all of that. I think Extraction as well too. I believe. So it's a little bit of everything. But I really believe in that studio after especially seeing how well they did the finals. I'm really sold on them being able to make the kind of game that I enjoy. So that was probably my most anticipated. But let me throw this over to you, Pong. Most anticipated game of the show, brother.
Well, I mean, you guys were in the DMs, so I'm going to pull one out.
Yeah.
Kind of, There's plenty here, and again, everybody said stuff that I really enjoyed. Captain Logan's talking about Dune. I thought it showed wonderful. Finally, to get to see some gameplay again. I just don't have the time to jump into MMOs. I want to so bad. I want to be in ESO right now. I want to be in Final Fantasy 14. There's so many games to play. I can't do it. No, I can't anymore. I can't, Captain Logan. If I was retired like Fuzzy, maybe, but I'm not. So, but yeah, Dune did show great too. But mine is one that we just saw at the Xbox showcase, and it came out of nowhere. And it's not a AAA. This is a AA game from a well-known studio. But it surprised everybody when it showed at Xbox. But I got to see, this is actually one of the parts that I did get to watch this week so far on the Xbox stage, IGN's portion when they were covering all the Xbox stuff. And this game was in there. And watching the deep dive with the dev and the actual gameplay now and understanding what they're going for, Atomfall from Rebellion.
I've heard great things about this.
Listen, this is moving way up my list. This is coming out March 2025. It is going to be in Game Pass day and date for all of the Xbox people. This is looking fantastic. This is a first-person action RPG that has been influenced by games like Stalker.
What did that dev make before?
They make Sniper Elite.
Sniper, that's right. Okay.
Yeah, and they've got a new Sniper Elite coming too next year, which is coming into Game Pass again too. Sniper Elite Resistance. I love Sniper Elite. So anyways, but Atomfall, influenced by Fallout, influenced by Stalker, but them making a open world action RPG with decisions and consequences, the ability to kind of do what you want to. The dev even said, you're able to kill everybody if you want to kill everybody. Right. So giving you that freedom that is in Fallout to go around and do this. Plus, Dev alluded to the fact that the NPCs that you meet, you're going to meet a ton of them. Some of them are going to ask you for help, and in return, they'll help you try to kind of find your way out of this mess. But awesome. He said that there's going to be NPCs that lie to you. And he said, you're going to have to determine whether or not you're trusting these NPCs, because some of them are going to turn out to be good NPCs, but some of them are
crazy.
Actually going to, actually double cross you. Some of them are going to turn out to be enemies down the road. You could be helping an enemy down the road. So he said there's a lot of that also in this game. And it's really cool because obviously Rebellion's known for Sniper Elite, which the gunplay is always fantastic, right? We know the gunplay. This time they're going a first-person action RPG, so you're up close and personal. They're going to have melee combat, and they were showing off the melee combat. They got like cricket bats and stuff, and they're just going around beating people down. Like this looks good, man. So it's a totally different type of game from Sniper Elite. And you know how much I appreciate when devs go outside of their comfort zone to go try something new.
Same.
But you can't give me enough action RPGs in my life.
Me either,
man.
bro.
So
you know what? It's your fault I'm hooked on the ARPGs, bro.
Yeah, well, that, yeah.
It's 100,000%.
But these first person are, Western style RPGs with meeting people and decisions and all that kind of stuff with consequences. And we're getting another great one this year too in Stalker, too, obviously. So this is what I love, man. And now, we could talk about Avowed. Avowed looked great too, and Avowed is sounding fantastic too, by the way. But this game, like I said, it was on my radar after the Xbox showcase. I was like, whoa, what is this now? What are we doing here? This looks different. This is Rebellion. What are they going for here? Because it has a little post-apocalyptic to it. Obviously, they said they took the first ever nuclear accident, which actually happened over UK, which nobody's ever used before. That's what they based their story around, was that incident. But it has got this, kind of futuristic past, kind of like clockwork with mechs and stuff involved. They got the telephone booth, and he kind of explained the telephone booth too, which was prominent in the first trailer. And the phone booth is somebody you don't know. It's going to be a stranger on the other side that you pick up phone calls, and they're going to ask you to do stuff. And you're going to have to decide whether or not you trust this person, not knowing who they are on the other side. So all of that, just it grabbed my attention. It looks great. Again, they showed a ton of gameplay coming out March next year in Game Pass. Man, I'm sold. The Adam Falls moved up my list for next year already. So yeah, that was my big winner out of the Gamescom. Again, there's a billion I could pick from, but Adam Fall is the one I was like, yeah, okay, I'm in. I'm all in on this.
Awesome. Yeah, I heard great things about that game, brother. I heard great things about that game.
Go watch it. Go watch it. They got like 15, 20 minutes of gameplay. You can find it on IGN. It's really good. It looks, again, it's not triple A, but it's double A, and Rebellion is very good at NPCs. They look great. They sound great. They always have good acting. And again, Sniper Elite Resistance looks freaking amazing too. They're going to France this time. That's going to be fun.
Yeah, facts. The game looks awesome. Like I said, I haven't really gone and looked at everything yet, but I've heard great things about it already. And once again, being on Game Pass, that's a huge W. Another huge W for Game Pass once again. So let's go ahead and throw this over to you, Fuzz. Game of the show, most anticipated, brother. What you got for us?
This one's a tough one because I don't want to repeat the same ones that people have mentioned, but I do say I have to agree with you, Blam, on most anticipated was Arc Raiders. But we didn't, like you said, we didn't get to see anything more of it since, like, especially since the beta test that they did a while ago. Mm-hmm. I'm hoping we get more and more info, I guess, sometime early 2025. In relation to it, but that was the one that when they started making a post on Twitter, I was looking forward to seeing that. And it
same, brother. Man,
it
got
bit
me
of a
hyped.
letdown, but I mean, we got to see some of the environments real quick, and it still looks awesome. Love what they did for finals, so fingers crossed that they paid attention to the landscape now with the First Ascendant out there. And listen to some of or mimic some of the same ideas in First Ascendant, like that seamless co-op aspect where somebody can start a mission type of thing. Although I know with this being kind of an extraction, this is more, I guess, leaning towards like the dark zone for the Division, which is fine. I just hope they have a wide variety of not necessarily different modes, but like different areas and like close combat, long range stuff, open field stuff, and whatnot. But yeah, looking forward to it. But there's two other games that I was really, really, looking forward to as well, as far as my interest. And right now, the game of the show for me, it's a tough pull between Indiana Jones and Path of Exile 2. Like right now, I'm back in Diablo. I'm enjoying my go with that. I haven't really done the spreadsheet just yet on my Druid, which I'm going to start looking at some of the aspects I'm going to have to put on some of the gear I got and all that. But looking forward to taking it to the next step with Path of Exile, because that one's more, I guess, detail oriented, and I love the theory craft stuff. So I'm looking forward to that one. And just some of the stuff I saw looks like it's going to be, I would say, on the same lines of what I'm enjoying in Diablo, if not more so. So definitely looking forward to that. But also with Indiana Jones, we got to see more of the hand-to-hand. Like it wasn't like they focused solely on that. They showed some more third-person traversal stuff, which I wanted to see as well. So it's not just like one or two areas where you're going to we climb up the side of the building. No, you're going to be. I would say it's probably going to be back and forth depending on what you're crossing or if you're doing a puzzle kind of thing. So I like what they showed as far as some of the how things are going to play out going into some of the missions and stuff. But that Path of Exiles are up there, and then Kingdom Come Deliverance. Still haven't finished the first one. I'm pretty close on finishing the first one. Love the fact that it was more grounded in reality, as far as I'm not necessarily the biggest like fantasy, like old time type of player. So with being, I guess, a little bit more just, having to learn how to defend against a sword and all that stuff, or arrows and things. I'm looking forward to this one taking it a little bit further as far as the RPG aspect of it. So looking forward to when they have that, come out. I think it's also listed as a 2025 game. So
February,
saying that the list is already building for 2025
already.
So But yeah, those were the big ones for me. I did like what I saw as far as the new mode for Forza Horizon 5. Basically hide and seek, using cars that are kind of like the normal NPC cars you'll see driving around and stuff. So, having it where it has like a kind of like a ping if you're close enough kind of deal. So, yeah, it's a cat and mouse game that they really should have had long ago. Although I would like them to do something similar with maybe cops and robbers or a police chase kind of thing. But they can always, iterate on that for a later time. But the hide and seek aspect, definitely like that more so than like the playground stuff that they have where it's like tag or flag football kind of thing that they do normally. This will be a nice change up.
Hey, Fuzzy.
Yes.
Between you and Dave saying that, what would you think it'd be if you guys, all of you, would you think it'd be pretty cool for the hide and seek or the cops and robbers one if they did like a proximity chat? So when you're close,
that's dope.
You know what I'm talking about?
That's cool.
It makes me think about Need for Speed when the cops used to chase after you on PlayStation. I'm like, stop it right there.
Yeah.
They just fly by you or you flying past them. Stop it.
Yeah.
And so I would imagine if they gave proximity and you're coming close to them and you're chasing them down and you're shouting at them to try to stop them, how fun that would be.
That would be awesome because I remember a couple of times just messing around with a couple of my friends in Forza Horizon 4 on the highway. There were a lot of people that were doing kind of like the stuff that I wish they would lean more into as far as like highway racing or street racing on the highways and stuff. So me and a buddy set up a couple of cop cars. I had the Crown Vic. He had like an Audi, with the European, police car like livery and stuff like that. So we hid outside the tunnel. So as the people were racing down the tunnel, having the siren, just like they weren't, I guess, expecting somebody to be sitting there like cops would. So blaring the siren, you could tell jolted them because one of them ran off the road. They're like, what the heck, type of deal after he came out the tunnel. So having a proximity chat would be even more fun. But right now, the way that game plays out, they turn it off by default. Any of the, like if you have your headset or whatever, you have to like unmute yourself and unmute others and things like that. But it's always like off by default. But they really should offer a proximity chat and then have it where if you're in a group or like a convoy, have it where it's on by default, which it doesn't seem like it does that like it used to, where even if you're in a convoy, it puts it on by default. But that would be a cool added touch type of thing.
Yeah, that's cool. That's for immersion too, right? Like you get people interested, you know what I mean? You get people like literally in the game, you know what I mean? Outside of just the controller aspect. So that's another cool. I like that idea. That's really fucking dope, Umber. So okay. So
one last thing I do want to say. Mm-hmm. Starfield, the update, the buggy, the Shattered Space coming in September. Yeah, that's more of like a ongoing game kind of thing, but that one's up there as well, just for the fact that I still got to finish my 4 playthroughs on that. But just adding the vehicle was a big thing, and now that there's even mods for some of the vehicles where you can have it where it's like a hover pod, or you can have it as like a any vehicle that probably they're using some of the car models from Forza Horizon or something like that now for like
that would be awesome.
A VW buggy kind of deal. But Starfield is another one that showed up really well as well. So this was a like you guys said, Gamers Christmas Part 2 kind of thing. This was Jeff's much better show this year compared to Summer Games Fest. Now I guess the pressure's on for what he shows at the VGA at this point. But this was I kind of wish the Summer Games Fest was on par with this showcase, but then again, he may not have had the support from Xbox to really pull that off, because they were keeping a lot of stuff for their showcase and whatnot. But overall, pretty happy with what I saw. Ton of games. So much so that it's now I got to start having the no money fund for the games that I'm going to have. the purchase day one kind of thing for when they come out next year and stuff. But yeah, it was an awesome showcase. And I didn't get to see all 3 days of Xbox, but even that, like just going into the deeper dives, seeing more Avowed, things along those lines. Like that's a game that looks better and better every time they show it.
Mm-hmm.
I know that there are some people, and I don't know if we'll get into it about the 60 versus 30, but at this point, I always look at it as just expect it to come out 30 and it'll come to 60 later.
Yeah.
But this one with the delay might come out 60 anyway, but we'll see. I mean, it's I know it bothers some that are just on console, but being on PC, that is an option, although it's not for everyone, but I totally understand some of those out there being upset, but I think if it's anything like the way Starfield was when it was at 30,
saying.
It was smooth. So I hope that they have that same buttery smoothness on Avowed with their 30 frame mode for those that are, just on console only kind of thing, at least until they get a patch, probably maybe in February or maybe
6 months from now.
6 months later.
And that's the rub for most people, right? Obviously, if we're gonna jump into the conversation, I guess we might as well feet first. The option, the not having the option, I think is what people are upset about mostly, right? So I think overall, people will be okay with that. But I think even with Starfield's a perfect example. Like if it's that kind of 30, like Starfield was a smooth 30, at least for me. Like it was smooth 30. Like I had no issues playing it at 30. Obviously, it's gonna be better at 60, clearly, right? We all understand 60 is better than 30 for most games, but if it's going to be 30, like with that level of quality, on top of the fact that every time we see it, it looks a little bit better. It's like they're continuously working on it. The gameplay looks a little tighter. Graphically, it looks a little better. It looks a little bit more polished. So we know that it's improving every time we see it. So I'm less worried about the fact that there's no 60 now than I was before, just because we've seen the game progressively show better and look better. So for me, that the game's going in the right direction. So I don't have too much to worry about. Now, once again, I understand people. We don't have the option. You in 2024, 60 it has to be a standard. I get it. I understand. I get it, and I understand that sometimes it's a creative decision, and we don't, as gamers, don't. Not all of us support that idea that it's just a creative decision. Like you should really just give.
That is bullshit.
Yeah, right. No, I'm not. Listen. No, I know you're not for damn sure. I know you're not, Paul.
Nobody should, because it doesn't happen on PC. So that's out the window.
Got you. So once again, see, this is where we're at. We're gonna get into it. Obviously,
I was going to say it.
No facts. I get it.
Getting on a PC is kind of like it's kind of hard to go back, and I think we'll get to it. I'll let you get to it.
No, I'm good. I mean, we can roll right into this. Get your bars off, Humber.
Beta testers, though, that definitely does feel like that after a minute. But I'll let you introduce the topic and get to it before I start.
Well, no, I mean, we already feet first. I done already kind of jumped in right away.
And I jumped all over
and he jumped because
I had to.
No, it's fine. Once again, I got to bring all of the information to the table. How you guys dissect that is up to you, right? So, but yeah, whether you like that choice or not, you like that excuse, because I want to make sure we reference this the right way, or not, that sometimes that does happen. So but for me personally, now, I understand the 40-80 guys, they don't really rock with that, but for me personally, I don't have a problem with it being the way it is now. It just seems, I personally think it just seems to look better, not play better, but it just looks better every time I see it. Like, so I think the game's going in the right direction. I feel good about it, and I'm not really too worried about that, even if it does come a little later. But I'll let you guys all get your bars off. Umber, you was already, so go ahead, brother.
Well, I co-sign with Pong on that one.
Yeah.
And, that's one of the rare times he's been correct. I think that no, seriously, it's a bit of a thing for me because I have become more and more accustomed to PC. I hate to say it.
It's okay. I get it.
It is what it is. Now.
You driving a Ferrari all week, and then you got to get in a Corolla on Saturday.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And somebody, actually, I know who it was. Dante, my brother Dante Spriggan on the Infinite podcast. He asked me. He said, "How long has it been since you've been on an Xbox?" And I had to stop and think. Like, wait a minute. How long has it been? And the last time I was on it, I was playing through Octopath Traveler 2, which I loved, by the way, 200 plus hours. Now those types of games perfectly fine on console, but when you got games like Hellblade 2, you got games like Black Myth Wukong, you got games like Space Marine 2, you got games like I mean, just going forward, it's a bunch, right? I'm kind of all over the place. But my point is after a while, you start to get used to this 60 and more frames per second thing, and we were promised that on Xbox.
Yeah, true.
It was a promise they shouldn't. It's a promise that Aaron. Shout out to Aaron. I got nothing but love for Aaron Greenberg, but it's a promise they shouldn't have made. And
I mean, it's on the box too.
It's on the box too, right? So they sold us this dream.
Yeah.
It's on Xbox and PlayStation. It's not just Xbox when I say this. This is a it's a bipartisan issue here. So they sold us on this dream of 60 frames per second, but they can't really attain that. And Unreal Engine 5 demands you to have the pull power. So it's a GPU heavy engine, and it cannot work on at least as optimally as it can on these consoles. It just can't. So now we're in this bit of a conundrum. Now you got Avowed here using Unreal 5.3. No wonder they're only getting 30 frames per second, and it's a fairly linear game from what we've been hearing about. So you got a very linear experience. It's going to look pretty. Now I'm all for pretty games, but the problem is you're going to have to get these engines proper. I think what's kind of crazy is Microsoft has great engines like the id Tech, which many people will swear by over Unreal even, right? Why not put that to use? I don't see why more wouldn't use that. It's better optimized for consoles and in general than Unreal Engine is. And this is me saying that. But they sold us on this dream, and they say, hey, this is what you can expect on these consoles. We might not even get that on next gen. So I don't know, but I'm hoping we do. But this whole thing of where we are, like, it's this whole thought that it's this is our vision. It's like Pong said, it's bullshit, because even Todd Howard was like, oh, this is our creative decision, blah, blah, blah. No, clearly it wasn't. Now they have 60 frames per second available on Starfield. Come on. We are beta testers for these games on consoles. That's what it's come to be. And the more I've noticed that and played on hardware that actually supports what I want, performance-wise, the more I realize, like, okay, I feel for the PR statements too. And listen, much like you said, PTK, I'm not even the biggest tech person when it comes to that. I'm not like super like, I need 60 frames or else I won't touch it. I'm not like that. I'll play a 30 frames per second game. I have no problem doing that. But when you have more demanding games that's supposed to rely on fluidity and like Black Myth, I'm going to go back to that, because you look at the action in that would be horrible at 30 and lower. I can't even imagine how our Who brothers on the PlayStation side are playing that right now. I'm sure they're lying to themselves, but I could not expect that to be a good experience versus what I'm getting on my PC. Now, it's a big ask for people to come from console to jump to a higher end PC, so I get that. And not everybody is going to have or want that experience, because it's
that's really the thing in
the pockets, right?
Because there's a video game expectation and there's a real life wall. Yeah. Right? Like realistically, like if we just peel everything away, Umbra, like that's probably the reason why a majority, you know what I mean? Like that's the ease of use is so overwhelmingly strong. That's why people play on console. I don't have to deal with all of that, the other components, parts, and RAM and all of this stuff that I need to make sure that I have in this one box or whatever. So there's pros and cons to that, but I think I'd say that's probably the biggest reason why people just, I don't want to say settle, but it's an ease of use thing. Like I'm not like I said, I'm not a big tech guy just like you either, Umber. So I completely understand that there are real life benefits to having the better hardware and everything running at 60 plus. So it's a weird argument. And like you said, we're just in a weird space as a console gamer, because if you can't afford a high end rig, you kind of just got to play where you're at. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's a bit of an odd spot. And then and it's on top of the fact that we have been told that, there were certain expectations coming in this generation from like the way these games are going to play. So it's a tough spot for a consumer.
It is a tough spot, but it's something that me being a consumer, I am, and I have a bit more, I guess, change to I almost said experiment, but it's not experiment because that thing costs too much money to play around with experiment. It's I have a bit more to be flexible with my change, right? And a few of us, I'm sure, obviously, are in the same boat. So I don't expect anybody to be like, well, let me just go get a PC. Now you can save up for it. Okay, you can do that. I'm terrible with that, by the way. So, but you can do that. If I had to right now tell anybody right now, if you were to try to experience these games going forward, because I think we're at this delta, right, where games are not going to get better as far as being optimized for your console. Then they're going to go up and up, right? Like as far as a performance and things like that, expectations of the hardware and to tech to run those things. If they keep going the way we think they're going to go, I feel like, hey, I would try to encourage people to try to save up and get them a PC and build it or whatever. It's cheaper to build it, whatever. That would be my thing to say. I just know it's not a realistic thing
it's
to expect. But that said, like I said, I just hate the idea that we're more or less beta testers. And you got a first person game like Avowed, which is 30 frames now confirmed. And like, we've been saying 6 months maybe from now, like Fuzzy was even saying 6 months or whatever from now, February, whatever, it's probably going to run at 60 or something. They'll put a patch in. So I would just prefer transparency if that would be the thing. Like say, hey, listen, we can only manage to get 30, blah, blah, blah. At a later date, we will try our best to get the performance up to 60. I think transparency will help go a long way, if not just delaying the game until you get it to that point.
Once again, a rock in a hard place, because you're gonna get the same reaction that you're getting now. You know what I mean? Like you're gonna get the same reaction from people. Gamers are not satisfied at all. If we're not getting exactly what we want when we want it, you're gonna get the same. They're in a lose-lose position. So once again, it's a weird situation because they set the expectations. Right, the same people that are in that situation set it. So it's a weird dichotomy. You know what I mean, to be in. So, but I agree with you 100%. Yeah, 100% on that. So Logan, what you got on this, brother? I don't.
Hold on. So this is here. I gotta adjust the soapbox real quick. Hold on. Okay, so. Yeah, the whole 30 frames per second. And to Umbra's point, I see them being transparent can bite you both ways. They are transparent about Indiana Jones coming to PS5 and people blow up. That's unnecessary. Don't want to see it. They could have shadow dropped it into a blog post later on. They could have done that similar thing with the Bite Back edition on Redfall, where they never released those characters, but they promised if you bought this $30 thing that you'd get characters for that game. So like transparency can very much be a bad thing if they're saying like, hey, we're going to get 30 now. We're hoping for the 60 in 6 months from launch. But at the same time, they really need to do this. In my opinion, Xbox is pushing these games out too fast. They've set the precedent that every single game that comes out is going to hit those little check boxes that say like, does it run? Does it crash within a certain percentage rate? Does it hit 30 frames per second? Does it hit 4K with upscaling and stuff like that? Once those things are done, they're like, greenlit the game, put it out, mark it as gold. We'll patch it later on because it'll be on Game Pass and people will be subscribed. So I have a huge issue with this whole 30 frames per second like mantra that they've got going on, especially if they keep trying to spin this as if it's going to be like this is what we want or this is what it's going to be. Because we know now, like they're just getting the game out as soon as they possibly can because they have other stuff coming down the track that they got to get everything out of everybody's got to get off the track before the next train comes. So you can't be sitting here waiting for the 60 patch and load it up so that next thing you know, Indiana Jones and Avowed are landing in the same time frame as far as release schedule. They say they delay it. Fine, delay Avowed for like 8 months, 12 months, give it the opportunity to actually shine. Give us the opportunity to see these 30 frames per second, 60 frames per second options built into the game from day one. Go full on polish. Blizzard had a mantra. It's done when it's done. When's it coming? Soon. TM. Their games came out back in the day. Their games were polished. They were solid. They were some of the best quality. Their betas are some of the best quality games you can play. and they're betas. This is one of those situations where I think Microsoft really has to address why they are telling fans 30's okay when their whole last generation was talking about how apologetic they were at how slow and unpowerful the One was, how the X is going to make a big difference with the Xbox One X, how they're going to give us the most powerful console that's ever been released on the market. And we get these 4K 60 games or these 60 frames per second games. And now we're being asked to backtrack on a system that's way more powerful. It's like, of course I'm going to go buy a 4080 Super. Why wouldn't I? Because everything that's going to land on that is going to hit 4K 60, 4K 120. You know, if I start doing the NVIDIA stuff with the frame generation, it's like, well, why am I going to go to any of the consoles at the moment? Simplicity? You guys are forcing me out of the simplicity by dumbing down the games, not giving me the options that came standard with the last generation towards the end of the cycle with the refresh. It's like, I'm not stupid. I'm going to pay the same amount of money for the same game, but I'm going to get a much better experience on better hardware instead of whatever the $500 thing is that you can kick out. So you got to really sell me on the next console if you expect me to shell out another $500 just to stick next to my TV.
Hey, that's fair. That's fair. I think you speaking for a lot of people. I've seen a lot of that on the timeline. So once again, you know, like you said, you got to be careful, you know, and the crazy thing about all of this too is that, like, you know, we've always said recently they have a lot of good problems, right? Like they have a lot of studios, they got a lot of IPs, they got a lot of talent, they got a lot of, you know, engines and all these good things. But there's a few actual problems that they still have. You know, messaging, the way they like get the information out, how they paint the picture to us Xbox fans is could be a bit muddy. You know what I mean? And a lot of times they end up having a double back on themselves, which never a good thing for consumer trust. Because I mean, obviously, you know, you spend money on these devices, you know, it's hard-earned money, and you know you want to get the best out of them that you can. You know, so I completely understand. I'm a bit more forgiving for a lot of this stuff. You know, I'm not the biggest tech guy, and I've always said that up until they say, hey, we're not making consoles, I can pretty much deal with anything prior to that. But you're right. You know, ultimately, you know, I'm not dumb either. You know, if I want a certain type of experience and I can't get it from the box that I paid for, I have to look for another option, right? So that's kind of how that works realistically. So Dave, man, we got to get your bars off, Dave.
Yeah.
I know this has been a back and forth thing, and it probably will be. You know, I don't know if it'll ever not be, you know, even if we do get boxes that are, you know, 60 all the way, you know, it might still be a conversation. We might be talking about why no 120 by then, right? Who knows? But where you at on this, Dave?
Well, I'm going to throw the monkey wrench in. Everybody be prepared to get pissed off at Dave. What? Oh, nothing new, I guess. All right. So Umbra, I love you. But I just you made a comment about how it felt like we were testing it, you know, being the guinea pigs until they got the bugs worked out as it got better. And I see your point. I definitely do. But I think it's not necessarily them like a guinea pigging us, even though. Okay, Phil said it best. It's a business, and they do have some guidelines and some dates that they need to meet to be financially viable. Even though it's $1 billion company, they still have goals and things they got to meet. You know, Phil has to answer to somebody, and if they can get a game out that meets the 30, and then they can tweak it later, to them, that's you know. There is definitely some hardcore people that's gonna upset, and I want this and I want this. I mean, like, you know, Randall Thorne 19, if it's not 60, he's not playing it, and I get that. But not everybody's that way. There's a lot of randoms and a lot of people that are just you know, casuals. Better word, not randoms. Sorry. Little medication's kicking in too, guys. It's a lot of fun tonight. Yeah. So
shout out to all these randoms playing my game,
right?
I'm just saying. But I guess my point is that you know, they're getting it out now, and then, you know, they're usually making the improvements. Obviously, you know, now like Starfield on the S is like 60 frames.
60, yeah, that patch.
You know? So did it take a while to get there? Yeah. Would you have rather have waited until like, okay, cool, we got to get this benchmark, it's got to be at this, or we can't release it? Fuck, we would have been like a year, 2 years of, of still waiting. And I'm sure there's a lot of games that are like that or that are close. And even some people are saying, well, maybe they got to 40 and they get to the, and, to me, if it works and it plays and it doesn't rot your brain or hurt you while you're trying to play, and 30 frames is, still, faster than, than technically the eye can see. So, there's a reason movies are shot at 24 frames per second. It's as far as on the cinema, and yes, more high end, high res. It definitely loads better and looks better on video games. But I don't know. I get people's point. I do understand. I'm not trying to dismiss anybody saying that it doesn't need to be. I get it, but for me, I couldn't give a crap. It's like it's out and I'm playing it now and I'm enjoying the game and I'm enjoying every bit of it. And the thing about Avowed is that they did say, that's their first plateau, their first, goal is to get the 30 frames per second. But if you listen to the interview, listen to what the guy said, it's not like they're not stopping on tweaking and working toward that as the game finishes up. That's one of the last things they say they work on is bringing the frame rate up so that it doesn't crash everything else they've got working. So between now and February, it may launch with 60 frames. And then this whole everybody getting their panties in a wad and, bitching and moaning hours on end on podcast will be mute, or maybe not, or maybe it's just started. I don't know. So, and maybe
Dave, let me ask you.
But you ask me anything you want.
Would you play first-person shooter competitive 30 frames per second?
Well, I don't play competitively because I'm not that good, so I really wouldn't have an answer for you.
Well, in general, right? Like, would you want to play that? Like, say you play a Halo campaign. Would you want
Yes,
to play that?
I would.
Like current one, that 30 frames per second.
Yep,
I don't think you would.
I would all day, buddy.
I hear you, but I don't think you would.
Well, I would, and you're not listening to me. So there you go. That's on you. That's not on me.
One last question: do you
Yes,
play
anything
on
else?
your Xbox more or on your PC?
I'm sorry.
Do you play on your Xbox more or your PC?
Xbox. I rarely play on PC.
Okay, just wanted to know.
Mm-hmm.
Dave, I
So-
got a couple questions. If I
yes,
PK,
go ahead.
If you want to push forward, I can hold on.
No, you're good. Go ahead, Logan. Do your thing,
So
brother.
I'm the
I'm
whipping boy. Bring it.
I'm curious. Do you feel like we have a dearth of games at the moment to justify the release schedule that Xbox is having to put out with these kind of notions, knowing that these games could be left in the cooker? Because as far as I'm concerned, whenever Fable's ready, I'm not thinking about like, oh, well, I don't really care when Fable launches because Fable's release date is nowhere close to right now. So, if they told me, like Fable's coming out in 2027, if it's ready in 2026, I wouldn't know, but I would know that it's coming out in 2027. So do you feel like they need to push that? Do you feel like we don't? I'm pretty sure most of us all have a huge backlog of games that we would love to play.
Yeah.
So do you feel like that's necessary?
What I wanted to wait? No, I want Fable today.
So, but if they told you Fable's coming out 2027 and you found out after it came out in 2027 that it was actually ready in 2026, but they wanted to polish it, would you be upset that you had to wait?
I mean, what you don't know won't hurt you. And, we didn't know about Hi-Fi Rush until it was shadow dropped. So did that hurt you?
No, because I think that's kind of where I'm going is if I didn't know when the release date was and they just told me when it was going to launch, but it launched with different visual options, some of them being 60 frames per second, better HDR, adaptive resolution, things like that. To me, it wouldn't matter like when they actually release it because it's released whenever it's released. But if they're going to release it early and then tell me that my preferred settings aren't going to be there, then I'm kind of like, well, it's not ready.
Well, most of the games this generation, and especially going forward and under Microsoft's immediate umbrella, they tend to have a a path, a roadmap as far as, Microsoft's got a 15-year plan, kind of thing, and how things get announced, how they get dropped, when things get announced, when they get talked about, when is it a certain part in development where they feel like they can talk about it. People have asked about Fable for years before it came out, and some of the people, the higher ups, Pete Hines, and then would say, it's looking pretty good, but they don't want to show it yet. They're not ready to talk about it yet, because it wasn't at that point, in the production to where they could do that. So now I think the reason they're talking about it now is because it's in the point in a lot of games that have the ability to, it's all about the future. And it really is, because, right now we have if you look at, Cult has a really good image. I don't know if I can't pull it up here, but I think it's one of his newest posts that he put up. Or maybe it's not Cult. Maybe I'm just delusional. Let's see if I can find it real quick. But it has it has like the roadmap, and like the next 4 games after this year, are pretty much kind of booked out, but we still don't know for sure, because they haven't made the official quote unquote announcement that these are the games that are actually coming in. This is kind of a from what they've announced and what they've talked about, this is what we believe is going to be coming out. And I promise you, I'm scrolling as fast as I can to try and find this.
I know.
I think that question. Go ahead, first.
No, I was going to say, I think Xbox has, if it was like a graphic showing the titles and then like the year where it had like 4 games saying 2025, Xbox has it as their pinned comment right now.
Oh, well, there you go. So, okay, here we go. So it's like, so like Avowed has a date of February 18th, and then it's like 2025 South of Midnight, Doom Dark Ages 2025, Fable 2025. So that's their, one AAA banger a quarter roadmap thing that they've, but there's going to be a dozen more games, good or bad, that are going to be dropped in between there. Some that'll be, third, I guess, AAA caliber from other companies, or from maybe even a Microsoft may even drop a shadow drop, something that they have that's in the work between now and then. Who knows? But that's the but yeah, so basically, I guess 30 frames is doable. And I guess the only other point I'll make, and then I'll shut up, is if you step back to the last generation, there were all kinds of games that were hitting 60 frames per second, because of the graphical level of the game, that they were able to hit those high marks. A lot of PlayStation 4 games, a lot of 360 games and PS1 games that were hitting higher, because they weren't taxing the part of the system that actually gave them the frame rate that was high. So it's obviously it's a balance to get what they need done. But yeah, there's, I don't know, there's even some older games. My God, even some Switch games that technically could get up to like 60 frames, but you wouldn't know it, or you wouldn't need it, because of the device that it's on.
So there's a lot of great points there too. I mean, it's basically, I think what we've come to the conclusion, it's a slippery slope. There's really no right way to go about this. Like, there really isn't, because you're gonna get flack from just about it. And like you said, you proposed the idea. Maybe just don't tell us. They did that, Logan. They were doing that before they started to give us dates, and we didn't like that shit neither. So like, I don't really know what they could do to really appease anybody at this point in time. So it's a slippery slope. I agree with you guys as far as the expectations and things not being met, but I also understand on the other side of the argument too as well. But let me go ahead and get let me let them get their bars off too. Fuzz Pong, man, I know it's been something that we've been talking about all week. You've been seeing it. It's something that is probably going to continue to be a huge conversation throughout this generation, maybe into the next. But Pong, where are you at on this, brother?
Well, I've been consistent from the beginning, so
nothing
changes. Nothing changes, and we've been doing this for a couple of years now. Nothing changes with this at all. Love Webb, love you, Dave. But brother, I mean, The part of the community that likes to say that everybody else bitches and complains just because we speak out, we got to stop that language, man. That division in this community is shitty as hell. Just because you don't necessarily think it's important doesn't mean that everybody's bitching and complaining all the time just because they want to bitch and complain.
Well, no, I wasn't bitching and complaining.
No. I'm saying that term that's used just because people speak out about the 30 frames, right? You said people
Okay.
you said if it might show up with 60 frames and then all this bitching and complaining from people on podcasts might not even matter. You know what I'm saying? No. It's not I don't take it personally. I just don't like it because, and I wasn't necessarily saying you were, I'm just saying a lot of intention in this community from certain sectors is to shut down conversations and to tell people what they can talk about in podcasts and what they can't. So that it just, when I hear that term again, it's like, I don't like it just because we speak out about certain things. So, but in all fairness, again, you're right, Dave, right? That they might have this done. Now, first of all, I want to give a shout out to Iron Lords. I want to give a shout out to Cog. I want to give a shout out to Mr. Matty Plays, obviously defining Duke, for putting this interview together, right? And the overall interview has, a lot of it's been lost due to the fact of the 30 frames question, but I appreciate them doing this interview. And there was a lot of good information, a lot of exciting stuff. Everybody knows Avowed is one of my most anticipated first party titles. In fact, I've been complaining about it. I've taken the entitled gamer route over the past month or 3 weeks since they announced the delay and said, I want this game this year. I don't care. Bring it. I'm sick and tired of my games, my most anticipated games getting delayed. So I'm Mr. Entitled Gamer this time around with Avowed. So you guys know where I stand with it, but it was a great interview with lots of good information and actually some new information about kind of the classes and about how that stuff is used. And so I just want to give them a shout out first of all. And then, obviously appreciate COG actually asking the tough question about the 30 frames. And I actually hit COG up in the DMs after listening to the interview about the 30 frames too, to get a little bit more insight from him and his thoughts on it. But as he, pointed out to me too.
Sorry about that, guys.
When you go back and listen to the interview, right? And you hear what Cog was saying. Actually, when he asked the question, the devs are kind of shocked for a moment because they're like, "Oh, we thought this was already addressed." Right. And Cog was like, no, nobody said anything yet. So they were kind of caught off guard by this. And I asked Cog specifically if he thought after the cameras were turned off, if he asked them a little bit more about the 30 frames, because it's my belief that in 2024, the devs, I have a hard time believing that the developers themselves don't understand that this conversation has moved from PC to console now. That console gamers are more aware and more knowledgeable about how important frames can be in a game than ever before. And it's no longer just dismissed as, oh no, it's fine. 30 frames is cool. Nah, that's cool. We've been playing 30 frames games for a long time. Who the hell cares if it's 30 frames? No, that's not what happens anymore. Console gamers now do understand the difference because we have been getting more and more games that do have a performance like a 60 frames or even a 120 now on console. And it does make a difference. Most people can feel a difference between the two if they play them. And so for me, it's always been like, how do the devs not know this is going to be a knock against your game on launch? And I want the best launch possible for any title out there. How do you not know in 2024, 2025, that this is going to hurt Avowed on console? It doesn't matter. It's going to hurt Avowed. Whether you think it's going to or not, the masses do hear about this stuff because people are going to talk about it. And they are right to talk about it at this day and age. Console gamers are second-class citizens. Okay, they have been. I have a problem with it. The devs give PC players, no matter if you're using a 10-year-old GPU or the most recent one launched, you get the same list of options. In fact, the 10-year-old GPU user can go into those same settings, turn it all the way up to ultra, and crash his entire system if he wants to. They don't discriminate. They don't say you can't do that. They don't say, oh, no, you're locked out. No, if your system can handle it, you go ahead and play with it and decide how you want to play. And the only thing I've ever said is for console players, 2 options. That's all devs have to do. This is about priority in the development time. You have to make this a priority for the console players. 2 options. That's it. Not the whole suite. You don't have to give us all the behind the scenes stuff that you give PC players. Quality and performance. That's it. Let the console players have a choice of how they want to play the game. And we know it can be done, but in your dev pipeline, you have to make it a priority. Period, point blank. And in 2024, I believe every developer who makes a game for a console, especially first party, whether it's PlayStation, whether it's Xbox, whoever, Nintendo with the Switch 2, those devs too, they absolutely should look at all the gamers who are going to be playing their games and realize that should be a priority that they get in line during production. I have said this across the board. I gave God Howard shit for coming out with his BS, that this is a creative decision. It's not a creative decision. I can't believe that the Obsidian devs actually said, well, it's a single person, first person shooter. You really don't need 60 frames. Who are you talking to? First person is the mode that you need 60 frames or above for. Like, that is like what it's there for. Like, that gives the best improvement in first person. Like, again, we are more knowledgeable than ever before as gamers. And the people listening to these interviews aren't the masses, but the word gets out eventually. So the devs should understand who they're speaking to as well. It's not the casuals who could care freaking less. It is the enthusiasts who are going to be watching dev interviews. So stop BSing us, right? Stop giving us these lines, all these excuses when we know damn well you're going to have 60 frames on this game. You're going to patch it in. But just because it's on console, the console players should not have to suffer. They should not have to wait. They should have one more single option out the gate. That's it. So I've been consistent across the board. I love Obsidian. Avowed is sounding absolutely incredible. It sucks.
You know what I hate?
What?
Is that this becomes the conversation,
Right.
because you just said it. It's like getting a steak and you're upset because the garnish isn't right. Like, wait a minute.
No, it's a little bit more than garnish.
Well,
It's
a little bit more than garnish. That may be a bad analogy. But what I'm saying is that there's a whole fucking steak that we can pay attention to. There's a lot of great things about Avowed. Everything else has improved every time we see the game. And unfortunately, this becomes a conversation. Now, part of that's their fault, because you set a certain expectation, you're not hitting those things. But I do think sometimes we tend to run with these things, because ultimately, I don't really like, outside of the people that just aren't going to play on 30 or have PCs and have the option, I just don't know how much of how much does it change your gaming diet to the average gamer? Like,
it does. Where was the average gamer for Redfall?
Oh, no. I understand that. Like, I understand.
Well, no. But we've got example after example in current gaming, PTK, where it goes beyond just the enthusiasts not showing up. The casuals don't show up. Okay. The masses don't show up for a variety of different reasons, right? But it does not help your game to not have the simple performance level that is now an expectation, especially on the high-end console stuff, right? That expectation is now set. Gamers are expecting it. We have games like the First Descendant Unreal Engine 5 coming out at 120 on the console. Okay, there is sacrifices that you have to make. Absolutely, right? First Descendant on the console versus the PC, it is a blurry mess, but it runs at 120.
So I'm curious, if GTA 6 comes out and it's 30, I'm
not playing. So I'll just let you know.
So all I'm saying is that are we giving certain games grace? Because I feel like that happens sometimes.
A lot of people will for GTA 6 for sure. Obviously,
I feel like people aren't going to have this conversation about GTA 6 if it comes out and it's 30. But
they'll have it. It won't go.
Nobody's going to even care.
All on deaf ears, right? Deaf ears.
Yeah.
I think Pong get it out of the park. I'm just going to be honest with you, Pong. I hate to say it, but you you hit it out of the park.
We do agree
And
more often than we like to admit.
we do, and you hit it out of the park. And it's expectation versus reality. And it's again, he's right, because it definitely does feed into the thought of console gamers being left to second class citizens. That feeling has been in the community for a while now. This is not new. So that continues to feed that thought process. And I'm like Captain Logan. You asked the question of would you prefer that game to be delayed until they get it right? I am on the side of that. Actually, I've stated that a few times on podcasts where I would just wait for you to get it right.
But the whole community screamed no.
Yeah,
we don't want that. I get what you're saying, Umbra, but everybody else is like, nah, bro. What the fuck is you talking about? I'm not saying you. I'm just saying that's what people were saying. Like, yeah, they don't want, like, they didn't. We've done that already, and nobody, like, people. So I just,
even those who are saying that got a crazy backlog. That's the funniest part, because like we can't afford to wait, but we are that era of give it to me now. You know.
No facts.
I think the problem with that is that we wait for these games. We don't know when they're coming out, but when they do come out, we still have issues with them. Like Halo Infinite got delayed. We didn't know when it was coming out. They delayed it. Guess what? No no like online like the issues there are still there. Like it's not like they're taking time and making the game actually better. They're just taking the time because the damn game didn't have enough time to begin with. If it came out polished, perfect, everything, Starfield, you could delay it that a year. If you guaranteed me 60 frames per second, people would probably be like, hey, I don't know what the issue is or why it's getting delayed, but it was already delayed. Like we've already seen delays with games. We're already seeing games with no launch dates, and they're still not coming out with the options, just the bare minimum options. Like subtitles are barely in there. On-screen narration is barely in there. Like 30 frames, 60 frames per second is not usually in there. It's like, bro, if I got that, I'd shut up. But we're not even getting that.
I don't know, bro. Like it's a slippery, because I'm not gonna act like I know how to make a video game, or I know how all this stuff works. We do know, because we see examples, like you can do it. So that's the caveat here, is that we have examples of it being done. So the whole idea of like not knowing the process and it being extremely difficult, it's kind of hard to make the argument. So I do understand that point. It's just that it's got to be tough being a dev, because you're getting pushed back on both sides. You know, you have there's a monetary influence there, because you have deadlines and things like that you got to hit, and then you've thrown all these promises out here. Like that shit got to be tough, man. Like it's got to be hard, bro.
That's a fair point. They have to live up to standards that they're people above them are telling them, hey, we got to get this out.
We got to get this out. Like,
yeah.
You know what I mean?
I feel Dave too, like just to throw it out there. I get you, Dave. That's why I asked those questions, to see where you were at, because you're still playing on console, and you're like, hey, I don't even care. I'm good with this 30. If that's the mindset for anybody, hey, listen, that is what it is. I would say
that's the mindset for most people that own consoles.
I would agree. I would agree, and I think this is what I've said to that before. If you are, and I want to let Fuzzy get his bar, so I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You're good.
I would say if you are on that side of that, like Web Dave, and all love to you, Dave. No, just trust me. It's no. I hate this that it felt like we were ganging up on you, but it's not the case.
All, dude. It's all good.
But if you are on that side of it, you have to just make peace with it. That hey, this is what the consoles can do, and this is what this. I might get a patch later on for 60 and be content with that. I am not content with that. I want the best. So
that's fair. That's fair.
I'm paying for the best. That's all it is.
Yeah. No, that's fair. 100% fair. And I don't think none of us are wrong. You know what I mean? We're all consumers. We all have our own lives, and we prioritize certain things and how we play games differently. So it's all preference, really, at the end of the day.
The number is usually wrong.
What's up, Punk tells me? Wait a minute. Hold this cahoots.
Kidding.
What is this? You don't recruited Dave too secretly?
I don't have to do anything. Umbra opens his mouth and everybody knows it. I mean, again, he gives himself away every time.
I'm with Umbra on this one.
So we 2-2 now. He got your back. Logan got your back, Umbra. No, but go ahead, Fuzz. I want to make sure you get your bars off too, brother. This has been a top. Like I said, Fuzz, we've talked about this many years. We probably still will, right? Even once we get a system that can do it on a regular basis, we probably have a different conversation at that point. But just kind of where you at. I know you've been playing more on PC. I know you kind of back and forth between Xbox too, but I know you've always kind of been, like we need to make sure these boxes are checked, right?
Yeah. Well, here's the biggest thing. Like I think it's not that the devs don't know in 2024 that, some gamers would like it to be 60 frames. I think they look at that as the small minority. Like we always have to realize, us as enthusiasts are less than 10%. That's typically the case, whether you're a car enthusiast, sport enthusiast, whatever. You're usually less than the 10% of the populace that is involved in that hobby or in that action or whatever the case may be. The masses will hear some of the noise, possibly from a friend at work or one of their buddies that they game with on Saturdays or whatever the case may be. But overall, like, I always try and take a step back and look at people I know where it's like they don't know what 60 frames is like on a lot of these games, like Hogwarts and whatnot. Like that, Hogwarts is a perfect example because you use Redfall, not targeting you, Pong, but Redfall was mentioned earlier as being an example for people not showing up. No, people didn't show up because of the game itself, not the 30 or 60. The game itself was busted at launch. That's why people didn't show up, and it didn't show well. The 30 and 60 price.
Fuzzy, there was huge articles being done about the performance.
Well, the media made sure,
but that's going to happen, and I just think it's weird. If you, how many PlayStation games have launched with only 30 frames available? How many current gen?
I'm not sure. That's a good question.
PlayStation games, 0.
Yeah.
They've all had options. Because
they had some of them didn't launch with 60. They had at least the option for 40.
Correct.
The big difference. There's other factors here, like the dev kit for PlayStation versus the dev kit for Xbox. The dev kit for PlayStation is a reiteration of the PS4, so it's not much different.
Is that, Fuzzy?
No. Here's the thing. It's like the PS5 can do the 60 because it's basically the games are designed for PS4. With Xbox, the problem is they're in a lot of cases outside of first party, they're going to be converted to be Xbox games. Nobody's really using the tools except for companies like Capcom, maybe Ubisoft, and a few others that will dedicate the time to use the dev kit for Xbox.
I don't want to push back, but shouldn't first party be your lead?
Yes, first party should be. But here's always the pushback I have for Xbox. They're a numbers company. Well, not Xbox themselves, but Microsoft. They look at the numbers. And there probably hasn't been a game that they can attribute the 30 frames killing the sales of that game. Because 30 frames was something on Hogwarts and it sold like hotcakes on all platforms. So it's not that they don't know, it's that it's not the high priority because it's not going to hurt their pockets in the long term or in the short term even. Because if they still work on it, it's something they're doing after the fact. They at least have this product out there that they can, get revenue from. And then that way it shows, well, hey, we're getting a decent amount of revenue. Okay, we can afford the extra overtime and blah, blah, blah to get this thing, out the door and done and, patched and whatnot. But a lot of games that are not like your first person shooters and stuff like that, that come out with 30 frames still sell because, I guess you could say John Doe or whatever that plays video games isn't necessarily going to hear about it. And even with all the articles that you see or read online or hear on YouTube from some of the gaming media outlets are still not always the go-to for the John Does or the Jane Does out there that aren't as much of an enthusiast. The typical casual may, like I said, they'll hear it from a coworker, they'll hear it from a family member or a friend, but chances are, as long as they're playing the game and it doesn't crash, game crashes are probably the higher priority, both on the dev side and something that a casual take more notice to. Like a broken game, they're going to want to take that back to the store, or they're going to want a refund or something. Maybe it being a little glitchy or a little stuttery, they're not going to do that return in a lot of cases. Now, us as enthusiasts, that's going to bother the crap out of us. We're going to, put the game down until either a patch comes out, or we're going to refund the game and then possibly buy it later at a discount type of thing. But it is a tricky situation when the platform holders themselves said that this generation was going to be like a 4K 60 type of
That's the
generation.
thing. That's the caveat, is that they set the expectation. So
Right.
yeah,
But then the drawback with the devs, and it's not that I have issue with the devs directly, but a lot of things that I hear from studios like what's the one that did Control?
Remedy.
Remedy.
Yeah.
Like Remedy is a perfect example. You give them more power for these consoles, they're just going to turn up all the visuals. They're not going to focus on the frame rate. They're going to add particle effects. They're going to add, specular lighting. They're going to add ray tracing. They're going to add all of those, eye candy goodies that you can get on PC, but they're just going to do it at the 30 frames because that's good enough to them. They're going to use that power to get the visuals and not worry about the framing, which to me boggles my mind that they do that. But until us as a whole, including the casuals, start, holding our wallets until these things come out with the 60 frames, nothing's going to change. We can have the next generation come out and you'll still see studios like Remedy do that. We'll be lucky if it comes out 60 frames right out the get-go, but I'm not gonna bank on it. Rockstar is not going to do it unless unless the next console is on the level of a 4090. I don't expect GTA 6 to be 60 on anything except for 3080 and newer PCs or 60, what is it, the 6900 cards over at AMD type of thing. But everything else will probably, unless you turn all the stuff down, it's probably going to be 30 or somewhere like barely keeping up between 50 and 60 type of deal on even some of the PCs and stuff. But
by the way, just to throw it out there, and I get your point, but I'll say this because I keep hearing it mentioned, and I think we kind of overlook this. The GTAs, the Hogwarts, because it's Harry Potter, those are exceptions to the rule.
Oh, yeah.
Because they are such big licenses. Star Wars, those are such big licenses. They are beyond gaming.
That when we talk about Hogwarts, when did that sell great? When? Without Hogwarts had 5 different modes, didn't it?
It did. And also, by the way, it also sold because people were
bashing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
it
definitely
controversy.
Controversy. I was trying to think, like, did it not come with performance modes? And I was like, no, it had like a bunch of them because I remember
it had performance modes, but they weren't consistent on console. They weren't.
Yeah, but I wasn't playing 30 frames on Series X.
You were playing 45 to 65,
right?
Depending. Right. But yeah, the option was there. But then again, is that acceptable?
Yes.
That the option's there, but it's
1,000%. 1,000%. Because I, as the gamer, get to decide with my VRR TV or monitor if I want to play that way. But you gave me the option and then patch it down the road. And then patch it to make it better down the road. But you gave me that option out the gate to play it at better than 30 frames. Because to me, I will take that sacrifice every day. I will.
I have to agree. And me having an OLED, much like you, Pong, that VRR comes in handy, man. It really does. And it's the same thing happened with, what was that game? With the girl and her brother, Amicia and
with the Plague Cell Requiem.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was 40.
They had a 40 frames per second
45 or something.
Yeah, exactly. With the VR, and that helped it so much more than I thought it would have.
Yes.
So having that option, I think, is really dope.
Yeah,
but I do get your overall point. Overall, you and Dave will be right that and PTK would be right that the casuals don't really care about that. But those of us who do, and those of us who understood that promise and said, hey, that's what we want, and they didn't live up to that, I don't think it's unfair for us to say, hey,
not at all.
Definitely not unfair to ask. Yeah. I think the big thing is there has to be a showing of force with the wallet kind of thing. And it would have to come down to people understanding, like you guys said, console is second class compared to PC. And in some cases, maybe even mobile, considering how things are going down the road with iPhones and stuff. But I think until they either hold off on buying until those options are like at launch type of thing, which it's hard to get people to stick together on something gaming related, because we even heard people talk about boycott one of the Call of Duties when it was in space, and they were like, "Oh, this is the worst one ever," and it still sold 11 million copies in 2 months. Like, people try to boycott Hogwarts. Yes, I know. Once again, it's a licensed IP, but boycotting it, and it sold something like 20 million in a couple of months. So it's like it's going to be hard to get gamers to be on the same page, or at least on a similar page, and hold off until it's the masses, or maybe not even the masses, but what we would agree is the standard for this generation, or even next generation for that matter. I think that's the big reason why I'm kind of at the point where I'm just going to transition back to PC. Like I was a console gamer back from Sega days, and then I went to PC by the time the PS2 came out, and then came back to console just for the convenience factor. But yeah, I think I'm heading back to just PC for the fact that the companies still see console as, why are you asking for options? And until they hear us more, or until they listen, that's the approach that these devs, especially first party, unfortunately, are going to continue to take. Now, Sony, on the other hand, I think Sony is a weird animal in comparison to Xbox. Like I said, Xbox or Microsoft themselves seem to judge everything by numbers. Whatever data shows, that's what they do. I think Sony, the way I view it, they have more enthusiasts in key positions. There's enthusiasts over at Xbox, but I don't think they're in the key positions. Or if they're in the key position, like let's say Phil's
an enthusiast.
But I think he has to look at the overall picture, because the purse strings for the division isn't going to agree on some of those things, unless the data, the numbers that they always love to run, show that that's going to be backed up by those.
Part
numbers.
of that data's got to be it has to include, Fuzzy, as any big business does, right? Is bad press. It has to include that. And again, those articles are being written every time they do this. And it does mean something to the company overall that they are getting that type of bad press every single time that they do this. Again, whether rightfully or not, whether it's made a bigger deal or not, it's still happening, and it will continue to happen. My only point is that it's not like when you're talking about numbers, this isn't like redoing the entire process or increasing costs dramatically. It's about putting priority on something earlier in the development time than just waiting for it magically to happen at the end once you get the game all done, or like you said, get it out there and then we'll just patch it down the road at some point and we'll make it all work, right? Which we've talked about plenty of times for all games, right? Again, all third parties, all first party, the broken games doing that same damn thing, right? And I'm not putting it on the same level as a broken game coming out at 30 frames without the option, but I'm just saying it's just moving that priority up the list early on, because they should care, Fuzzy, about their enthusiasts. They should care. That's your core, right? That is the core that's built your brand, that promotes your games, that does the hard lifting on the groundwork, that does tell their friends about this stuff, right? That has always been a priority, it seemed, to Xbox, because they were out here talking to us, right? They made themselves available. So why wouldn't they listen to that part? Like, that's just weird to me. But
this is just this conversation is going to go on forever.
Oh, yeah.
Now, I'm not saying we need to stop.
No.
I wasn't saying that. No, I wasn't saying that. I wasn't saying that. I wasn't like rushing you or anything. I just mean like literally, we're going to continue to have this conversation.
Yeah.
Going forward, as far as this generation, next generation. I wasn't cutting you off, Paul. I wasn't rushing you or anything. I want you to
next
think
generation. No, we're not, because now they're all figuring it out, and we're going to have frame generation. We just saw, Xbox's Microsoft
AI, all that kind of stuff.
Brand new AI DLSS, which is absolutely impressive as hell.
Love me some DLSS.
Yes, sir. So again, next generation, no, I actually don't think, unless all of a sudden everybody's going to start asking for 240, then we might be having this conversation. But I don't think most people are going to be asking for 240. I don't think so. But to your point, PTK, earlier, and it is something I brought up on Living Split Screen today too, it is sucky because there was so much goodness that came out
I
of the
hate
Avowed
that,
stuff this
bro. I
week.
hate
There
it. I hate it so much.
I will
bro. I
say
hate
there
it.
was articles written. There were people talking about what they've been playing on Avowed and how it surprised them and how well. So there has been that word out there. It's just the 30 frames catches fire all the damn time.
No facts.
So yeah,
it brings the engagement in. So I completely understand that. So
Drama sells.
absolutely. So we've talked about one bit of drama. I do want to address this too before we wrap this whole show up. And you already know where I'm going from.
I'm glad we
matter of
got
fact,
to the
go
good
ahead.
stuff
You know what?
early.
You know what? Go ahead. You can. You know
I'm
what?
not
Okay.
setting-
Okay.
You set
All
it
right.
up, brother. This
All right.
is your show. Go.
All right. So I mean, this little game called Concord came out, and yeah, just I don't really know what to say about it, but just I want to get everybody's quick thoughts just around the panel. Obviously, like we all had early impressions on this game when we first saw it. A lot of us thought, well, I mean, look at the market; it's a bit saturated. There was nothing that really stood out about the game, and it's proven extremely true. Matter of fact, shockingly true. That the game's probably not going to be supported. It's not going to be supported at all, as far as we can see. As of this very minute, there's probably more people in a local Walmart than there are people playing that game.
Well, we're actually approaching concurrent people watching this show. I mean, we're like,
we're closing in.
We're closing in.
Closing
already.
in.
Yeah.
So I guess my question would be for you gentlemen. I'm going to continue to ask this question. That's why we get this question. When is Sony or Play going to be able to make a decent multi? Are they ever going to be able to figure that out? They tried to buy it, they tried to do it themselves, and for whatever reason, they threw away Last of Us Factions, they threw away the Spider-Man thing and said, no, we want that one. We want that one. That Concord, yeah, we want that. We're gonna put that out. So I just want everybody's quick opinion on just the thoughts. You don't gotta super bash the game or anything like that. It's up to you. But we'll start with you, Logan, on this, brother. I mean, I don't know if you saw it coming a mile away.
I'm holding a candle for this. There's people from dev studios that I used to really care about that are working on this game, and knowing the pedigree, I talked about this earlier today on XEP. Knowing the pedigree of the devs that are over there, dude, I feel like there's like a chance. Like I'm attached to Sea of Thieves. I've seen failure come from the ashes and rise up.
That's a good point.
A beautiful beast. I don't think Sony's going to give them the leash to be able to make that the way Xbox does, which sucks. But I think if people got endeared to the characters the way that you would like when Overwatch came out and it was popping off, I think we'd have a much different
That's
story.
the problem right there,
Yep.
Logan. That is
You don't know the characters and you're not sure who they are or why you should.
Well, think about the rollout too.
And they look terrible, and they don't. They're not attracting the people. They're not doing anything.
Well, think about the rollout too.
Yeah, they're not attractive at all. Correct.
Well, think about the rollout too. The Logan Pong, because we saw the game once. They didn't do any dev diaries in between. They didn't give us no information. They didn't ramp us up. And then they said, okay, here, the next time we saw it, there's a beta coming. They didn't give us a chance to fall in love with the game.
No.
We saw it once. It disappeared for a year. Then we saw it again and they said it was a beta.
Yeah.
We didn't get no dev diaries. We didn't get no ramp up. We didn't get any of the traditional things that these studios do to try and get us prepared for a beta coming up or a release coming out or something. They didn't do any of that. The next time we saw it again, they said a beta's coming soon. Here's whatever. You guys can play this right now. We didn't get chances to fall in love with the actual characters, just the idea of the game. We didn't even get the opportunity to do that.
They had a better rollout for the Last of Us remake than they did for Concord. They know where their money's going to be made. They just don't care about Concord, which is a real bummer because I genuinely think that this team could pull off the weekly story missions that get people interested, that they would actually be, it would be interesting. Like the gunplay, I think is going to be there. I think the modes can get worked on. The characters are interesting to an extent, but you got to build in that like attention, that the caring that you want from that. They really did a disservice, considering how good Sony can be with marketing. They didn't want this game to succeed, and you can tell because it's not a $70 game, it's a $40 game.
All right, Dave.
Well, oh no, man. I don't know. It just too little, too late. and they put a price tag on games that are now set as free to play. So why would people want to spend money on something that they can already get better for free? I mean, if Sony really wanted to, to do it right, they should have maybe, included it at least in their subscriptions, like just the copy of the game free for subscriptions. That would have helped a bunch, at least building a base for this to grow. It's, the numbers are there. It doesn't look good. I don't know that it's gonna have a chance.
Yeah,
but I
and
don't
that's
think
the
it's the
thing.
developers. I think it's it's just a matter of greed and the mistakes that were made under Jim Ryan. And we take a look at this, and I think Factions would have done better if they let it roll than this. So, and then who knows what shape Factions was in, but apparently it wasn't good.
No, it's still better
Bungie
than this, bro.
Yeah.
It would have been better than this. Their Spider-Man MMO would have been better than this.
Bungie wasn't having that,
bro.
Bungie wasn't having that poem. They walk in there and say, what you doing? Put that down. No. Yeah, no. No. We don't know.
4 years of one of your most expensive studios.
No.
Factions. You cancel that? Jesus.
Nope.
Again, Herman Holst deserves all the smoke on this.
Amen.
All of it.
So I mean, I want to cut you off, Dave.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Dave. I jumped on you.
No. But that's the point, man. It's not worth it. And they did it to themselves. They listened to people that didn't know what the hell they were doing. And I mean, look, and now that they realize it, now that somebody has control over it, that's why there's like layoffs at Bungie and all this kind of stuff. And they're trying to figure things out because look. People don't want to admit it, and they're not going away, but they're no longer the dominant factor in gaming like they used to be. And it's going to be a while before they dig themselves out of this hole, if they can, especially with Microsoft continuing to grow.
I've always said, Dave, that they took too long. They ignored multiplayer games and service stuff for way too long. And then you raised 2 generations worth of gamers telling them that those kinds of games aren't good games.
Mm-hmm.
You basically gave them a diet of single player, over the shoulder, action adventure, third person, story, narrative driven games for 2 generations. And then you're like, you know what? Let's try this multiplayer thing. Jim, what you think about that? Hell yeah. Let's matter of fact, we'll do all our first party.
Yep.
So like you can't flip the switch. You don't have that kind of, it's not even built in yet. There's studios that can do it. I 100% believe Naughty Dog could have pulled it off, right? Mm-hmm. Same thing with Insomniac. I can completely trust those 2 devs, but when you've been away for so long, you don't make those kind of games anymore. Like how you can't just jump back in and expect like, oh yeah, this is gonna be cool. The PlayStation gamers don't even want like games as a service games. They don't.
Correct.
There's just a negative connotation to those kinds of games. You speak to a PlayStation fan, they're like, what? Where's the God of War? Where's the, you know what I mean? Where's that?
Or at least be free where they can get into it at least. But no, let's
like
charge them a bunch of money.
Impact, right?
Yeah.
What now?
They like their Genshin Impact, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So, Umbra, let me throw this over to you, bro. I know, and once again, Umbra, I know I seen the tweets, but where you at on this, Umbra?
Well, I want to, I guess, not what's the word I want to use here. I want to say this before I go in on it, but because ultimately, I don't like any game to fail, and I know all of us.
Facts. Yeah,
because as gamers, we want everything to, every game to be good. We want every game to succeed, if it's good, of course. I don't want terrible games to succeed, but I have from what I've seen, the bones of this game seem to be good. I'm sure they're a very capable developer. I've heard positives about the shooting mechanics and things of that nature. All of those things. I don't think it's per se a bad game, right? The problem is, I think, threefold. One, Sony shot themselves in the foot by saying, 12, 13 games in live service games like this in development.
Yep.
Which I think already made their crowd lukewarm for reception already, immediately. Actually, I know it did because I saw plenty of our Hoove brothers comments on that show, and they were not excited about any of those live service games
at all.
Concord didn't show any gameplay at that time, but even then they were like, what is this? A sandwich in space, and they're trying to copy off Starfield with the sandwich. I remember those comments, and sure enough, we see it, and it's a kind of a clone of a Guardians of the Galaxy. So it started getting, you could tell the negativity around it was already set in place because Sony had shot themselves in the foot by diverting what PlayStation gamers were already accustomed to. And that's the part that's also Sony's fault, because their lack of diversity from the 7th gen to
people don't talk about that enough, Umbra. I'm glad you brought it up.
It's the truth. They went away from that, and they kind of conditioned their crowd to expect third person over the shoulder kind of action games. That's what they've done. They conditioned them to these massive kind of semi-open, I'll say, and story-based games. This is what people have come to expect from Sony, right? Good mechanics, solid stories,
great graphics,
action. Exactly, good visuals. This is what they've come to expect. So when you put out a game like this, it's a live service, first-person shooter, hero shooter at that, which is kind of niche in the market compared to what we have from typical first-person shooters. No story really to speak of, and at $40, when you have, as Dave pointed out a while ago, better free to play, games in the same type of genre and everything like that, you set them up to fail spectacularly. I don't understand why they would even charge $40. Once they saw the writing on the wall, they should have changed that and said, okay, we're going to make it free to play. They already changed a few things, and this is what I said. I wanted to kind of address that first, to say, hey, I'm sure it's a good game. I don't want to speak negatively on it, and I know people, and to your point, Logan, that you have people that are creating it, and even to people like Paris who spoke on it, Web Dave, on your show, and it was a big commotion on your show that time. I was there for that in the chat, and he didn't really want to speak ill of it either. And people were like, "Oh, dead on arrival." Listen, we all knew that game was dead on arrival. He didn't want to speak negatively of it, and I get it. You got friends there who wants to do that, right? Yeah. So I'm not trying to fault him or anything. I do think he was a little more excited than he should have been to the chat, but the game had it written all over it. One, we all know that typically live service games like this, they don't work. Most of them fail. So when you set up 13 or 12 or whatever, dozens of games, and that you're saying this is what you guys want to expect, this is your future on PlayStation, they were already like, no, we don't want that, and they showed that, and that's just why it's like 400 people in the game now, right, on launch day.
On a Saturday night.
On a Saturday. So that's putting that aside. I'll add this too. And this is the negative part that's not about it's not, I guess it's a bit out of PlayStation's control. We have had these grifters and hate mongers among us who have made gaming discourse far worse. And I know you guys have seen them. We've had the Grums and such who have made gaming discourse so bad because they are grifting and playing off that hate to make people more excited and negative on games that shouldn't even have that on it. Now, these developers put in, I know, a lot of LGBT kind of lingo and things of the nature, right? The they, thems, the pronoun things and stuff like that. A lot of people, believe it or not, get really angsty about that type of stuff, and they feel it's an agenda being pushed on them. And then when you have the grifters who amplify that, it made it even worse. So it was a hate campaign against this game already, right? It's the same thing we were talking about, what I mentioned with Hogwarts. It had that pushed against it because of people feeling a way toward its creator with J.K. Rowling.
J.K. Rowling, yeah.
Now, I disagree with that because these developers had nothing to do with that outside of the license of Harry Potter. There's nothing they can do about what she feels. But these developers have a lot of pro, I guess, LGBT kind of lingo and talk about it, and people use that negatively against it. They, them, and the robot was they, them, and all of that. And they're like, why is that in there? And I kind of agree. And set in a far future, why in space somewhere, and you Guardians of the Galaxy passage is like, why are you talking about they, them? I get that. It doesn't bother me. I just find it kind of takes you out of what you're supposed to be in. I find like, why are you talking about they, them? They don't care about that, whatever, right? But people have taken that and used it negatively against this game too. So they had so much going against it from the hate campaigns from a lot of these grifters and from Sony setting them up the way they did. Jim Ryan got out while the getting was good, as Jeff Grubb put it. So, and
Took
so
money and ran.
Yes, sir.
He took the money and run, but he listen.
But have a cookie.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of that have a cookie with his face on. But I think a lot of that set this game up to fail. On top of the fact that typically a lot of these live service games just don't succeed,
Yeah.
and that's why they had so many anyway, because they know they expected so many of them to fail.
Well,
You know what I mean?
Another thing too, and I'm glad that Logan brought this up earlier, Umbra, is that PlayStation traditionally they're not very supportive if something don't work right away. They're not traditionally known to allow us to. I mean, they will here and there, but generally you don't traditionally see them. They're not going to allow Sea of Thieves to go through what it went through to get to where it's at.
I agree with that.
You know what I mean? It took a year and a half, 2 years. That's
one
one
of the positives for Microsoft, where they have allowed a game like that would never have seen the light of day anymore after its first year on PlayStation to succeed. And look at it. Sea of Thieves is I can't even believe it's doing what it's doing.
Yeah.
And I agree with that too. And I'll just cap it off with this. I think they should have readjusted and after they saw the feedback and the negativity around it and just made it free to play. I think they still, well, maybe that ship has sailed. I think they just should have done that to made it free to play. I think it's probably too late now, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's going to be tough to do it now. It's just not It's not even enough eyes on it. Eyes on it are all looking crazy. You know what I mean? The people that are actually looking at the game aren't. So it's tough. It's gonna be hard to turn that ship around, if at all. I'm gonna be honest with you. So let me let my brothers get their bars off too before we wrap this up, man. But Pong Fuzz, man, this is something we've talked about, and like Umbra said, we all predicted that this kind of was gonna be the route that this game took. And like you said, nothing personal on the devs. We know they're talented. We know their pedigree. A lot of them will come from phenomenal studios that have made great games. But when you're put in a situation, like they were in a brand new studio, right? Brand new studio, but we need to go out here and make this. I'm not even sure if the game was their idea. Maybe it was their idea. Maybe Jim said, we need a game as a service. We need a live service game. Just build around that. And he let them make the kind of live service game that they want. I'm not even sure, but just kind of where you at, Pong, on this, bro?
Well, 6 years, 8 years, whatever it was, this is what you put out, huh? It took CD Projekt Red 7 years to put out Cyberpunk. I don't want any game to fail. I'm not that dude at all, right? I played the beta, right? I actually did jump into this game, right? I got up to like level 10 because Nixie out of our chat and Living Split Screen asked Steele and I if we would actually go try it out. Steele said, no, it's not a game for me, but I said I'd do it. So I actually went and played this game just to see what it was about and to give it a go. And again, I really tried. I tried all the characters. Like I was like actively trying to find one or two of the characters that really pulled me in, because people could say all they want. That shouldn't be important, but it is in a hero type shooter. Like that's the thing that draws people in, right? Is the characters. This game, like this idea, this concept, they could have pulled off a Guardians of the Galaxy co-op game very well. They could have turned this into another one of the Sony classic narrative-driven style action shooter games, but dropped co-op in. And I think they probably would have had a fantastic chance at having a good game out of it, because the CGI is extremely well done. It is polished as hell. As I said when I came out of playing that beta, I can't say there's anything bad mechanically about the game. The shooting is good. All the abilities work as expected. All the weapons are different from each other, which is what you want in this type of setup with a hero shooter. The characters should all feel different from each other, and obviously in a shooter, that's what you're going to judge them by, is their abilities and their weapons. So all of that, like, recipe is there. Like, if there's a formula, they did the formula, but I called it soulless, and it's soulless. There is no soul behind this. And again, it's no disrespect to the devs, because I'm not the dude who believes that devs honestly try to go out and make the worst game they possibly can either. I think they go and try their absolute best, at least most devs. There's always going to be better devs than others, but I think most devs go to work every day thinking they're going to build a kick-ass game and it's going to be the next big thing. And that's how you got to believe when you're in this industry or any highly competitive industry. You got to believe you're going to do great work. But it's soulless. It doesn't have anything that grabs your attention. It certainly, in a very highly competitive space like what they jumped into with the genre, yeah, you're more likely to fail than you are to succeed. And not just with Concord, not just with Firewalk, but with anybody trying to do anybody trying to do a new IP. It's very difficult, right? So yeah, I mean, it makes a lot of sense, you know, as far as, you know, Umbra's pointing out that there was a lot against this team already. Listen, they brought a lot of it upon themselves. And, you know, another thing I have a problem with, I guess, society in general nowadays, is when we don't like something, we call everybody grifters too. Not everybody's a grifter. There are honest to goodness discussions to be had around agendas that are infiltrating different things like video games. And I certainly believe that there are people that, you know, could hold a conversation that do mean well. So not everybody's a grifter here. I do think there is something to be talked about. Not necessarily with the pronouns. Again, it's weird and it's dumb. And again, it doesn't have a place here at all in video games. Like I think it's as stupid as shit. But anyways, I think we do have to talk about Western devs being very afraid of making attractive characters these days. I think that is something to be talked about, because I think that would have helped this game immensely. Had they taken half of the approach the first Descendant team did, I'm not even talking about going full bore, but had they taken half of that approach and made, let's say, 4 or 5 of their characters like stereotypical beauty or handsomeness, I think it would have done this game wonders, because I think people would have gravitated towards those characters, right? So I do think there's a conversation to be had about some of that stuff. Yeah, I think that was the biggest miss, was the characters. But when I watched the CGI, when I watched the intro, when I watched kind of the story that they kind of outlined about how the characters got there, that was actually pretty decent. And actually the anime shorts that they had on lead up to launch 2 were actually pretty decent. That's why I say, had they taken this game, had they not been kind of forced because Sony was looking for this type of game, had they had the choice to turn this game into a narrative story co-op shooter, I really truly do believe they would have had something here. And last point, Umbra also brought up another point, which I brought up this morning on Living Split Screen. And this goes back to my earlier comment. Herman Hulst deserves all the smoke. I don't care if this was under Jim's regime. Herman Hulst is now in charge. If you guys did these betas, Sony has access to all the freaking numbers, okay? They see the pre-orders, okay? They get those numbers from GameStop. They get those numbers from their own storefronts, obviously. They see the amount of people playing this game. To let this game roll out as is without changing anything. Remember, Destruction All-Stars was going to be a $70 game. They saw the numbers and pulled way back. And whether that launch at $20 plus they put it in PlayStation Plus Premium, right? Mm-hmm. They've made those decisions before. For them to see something, a game that they invested 6 to 8 years. There are some reports that this was over $100 million game, which with that kind of amount of time makes sense. For them to allow this to roll out without any kind of adjustments to how you were going to do this after seeing those numbers, which I am sure were abysmal. GameStop was offering any trade-in value over $25, you get Concord. Jesus, that means GameStop saw how bad it was. That is on Herman Hulst and the leadership team. That is the ultimate form of mismanagement that we talk about frequently. And I think that does show a lack of some understanding, or at least again, maybe they did just send it out to die. I can't dismiss that completely, but I just think that is on Herman as one of his first games being launched underneath his new regime. I think he takes the black eye for this one. This was an awful decision to launch it this way.
I put that on Ryan though. I don't put it because
It started on Ryan, but Herman could have Herman could have changed it. They could have put the stop on it and done something like free to play. They could have gone back to the drawing board. I still put it on him. Like, yes,
they could definitely change it up, I suppose. Yeah, but like Fuzzy was mentioning earlier, some of these things, hey, you just got to get the game out at this point.
Oh, sure. No, and I don't doubt. Yeah, Hiroki was probably all over it going, just drop this shit. Like, let's be done with this. I mean,
Let me ask one question before you go on, because just to throw it out there, because you mentioned it, and I kind of err on that side of it. You mentioned they had the stereotypical kind of, handsome, sexy, whatever. Yeah. And we look at these games like the Stellar Blades, we look at the Wukongs and such. Wukong ain't sexy, but it has the aesthetics of that people are typically like drawn to, right? Do you think, now you said you think that'll work now, do you think it's been too much of this kind of Western agenda that kind of made the characters more, I guess, normal / homely? Do you think that's been too much of that in gaming?
Oh, yeah. No, that's why I brought it up, because I think that like out of all the stuff that's and I think again, I do believe there are real conversations to be had about a lot of this stuff. It's not all fake outrage, right? Again, there are agendas being pushed, whether you want to admit it or not. There is forcing of agendas. So again, we have activists everywhere. That it's going to happen. But the fact is that I do believe, Umbra, that there is been this shying away from characters that look good, or I should put it this way. I've always put it this way: classic beauty standards, right? What we think of classic beauty standards, that has been shied away from, especially in the Western dev. Not all of them, of course. We don't blanket everything. Nothing is absolute. But you see a lot of instances, like a game like this, with how many characters? 16 characters? Is it 16? Or is it 16
something
maps?
Like that,
12.
Maybe.
I think it's 16 characters, 12 maps.
Or something
16.
Like that.
I think it's 16 characters. There's not a single what I would consider handsome or beautiful among them. Like there isn't. Like again, and I know beauty's in the eye.
Aren't they aliens too? I mean,
yeah, they are. But we have beautiful aliens. Mass Effect. Are you kidding me?
I guess
Are you kidding me? Okay.
Yeah.
Like again, there are certain, and again, I'm not saying it has to be all of that. I'm not saying it has to be Stellar Blade. I'm not saying they have to lead into it like completely, like some of the Eastern devs currently are. But I'm just saying, to shy away from it completely and to purposely like downplay the looks, or try to say that doesn't matter. Sex will always sell. It has been since the beginning of time and will continue to be. And to ignore that fact or try to act like, what's the new terminology? Modern audiences don't look for that. Come on, man. We all know better. Give me a break. Listen, Baldur's Gate 3 okayed bestiality and everybody loved it. Okay, so come on, man. Let's stop the hypocrisy around here. All right. What? Again, I just think, yeah. So I just think that
it's so funny you say that, because I remember somebody's like, "Oh, why does this need to be in here?" And I'm like, you have a tweet right now where you were praising Baldur's Gate for doing that. Why is it now a problem?
Right. Exactly. So I do think there's a conversation to be had there about why we've seen that and why we have seen the Eastern devs be able to do full scans of actors and have them look as beautiful or as handsome as they do in real life. And all of a sudden Western devs are like, oh, it's very hard to get the looks. So that's always a problem. Why can the Eastern devs do it when we have supposedly the best technology over here for a lot of this stuff, and they can capture every little tiny detail in the skin, but then all of a sudden the character shows up on screen in the video game and is ugly as hell? What happened? What happened? Nah, we're not gonna do this. Oh, it's very hard to do that, man. So anyway.
The HR department got a hold of the computer.
Pong just wants Blood Rain to come back. That's
yes, absolutely. Bring back Blood Rain. I'm bringing back all of it. Oh, hell yeah, man. Again, First Descendant got 2 rounds of funding from me because they lean into it, man. Of course, for the outfits.
That's a good one too. I forgot to mention that one. But you know, I err on that side where you're at. I'm gonna be honest, and I do get. I'm probably less woke than some people will want me to be, and I hate the woke. I'm sorry to use that. I'm sorry I used that, but I feel like there is room for both. That we can have both, but that the whole it has been an agenda to push to kind of make. Oh, see, they like you normal. I don't want normal. I
No,
want
we play video.
escapism. Yes,
We
I
play
want
video
the,
games for the power fantasy,
that's
bro.
right. I want them to look
Right,
crazy, attractive,
right.
and good. I'm
They're-
sorry,
they're-
I do.
And it's not every game, like you said, Umbra. You don't make Joel and Ellie in The Last of Us some models, okay? That's a
Right.
grounded game based in a world that you're not going to have supermodels in, okay? Okay, all right.
Agreed.
That's perfectly normal. But these other games, superhero type games, these hero shooter games, hell yes, man, we're playing. And it's not just the males. Plenty of female gamers have been out here screaming, going, give us
True.
sexy, give us handsome, do what you lean into that, because that's why we play video games in the first place. Escapism, power fantasy, and that is a part of it. I don't play to play normal people. I play to play superheroes. At the end of the day, and superheroes are or should be the peak of humanity, right? That's what it should be, and that means physical appearance as well.
All right. Well, before we wrap this thing up, let me let Fuzz get his bars off.
No, let's keep going, man. Let's keep going. We're just getting into it. Let's do this.
And shout out to Lotus as well, $10 super chat. He said, let me put it up here. Sorry about that, Fuzz. I'm gonna go ahead and get you started. But he said 2 terabyte Xbox official on pre-order thoughts. Oh well, shit. I mean, we kind of. Well, let's go ahead. Let me go ahead and get your bars off, Fuzz. Go ahead, brother. I'll make sure we get.
Well, I'll just say that the 2 terabyte one is awesome for the fact that they now have that kind of storage space on it, so you don't have to have like the separate card. So kudos on them for offering a 2 terabyte. I mean,
yeah, facts.
That should be like the new standard, to be honest. But as far as when it comes to Concord, we all saw this coming. I blame Bungie. I feel sorry for the devs. I don't have any real interest in the game, much like I didn't have as much interest in Lawbreakers, and it's a shame that Lawbreakers actually had a better concurrent launch than this did on Steam. So there's that. I don't want to say that PlayStation is going to be in desperation mode, but talking about the smoke for Herman Hulse, if he doesn't get off his butt and go back to Naughty Dog, and get factions out there now, like whatever state it is, it was better than the day before, guaranteed. Whatever state that game was in is going to be better than the day before, and I guarantee you, tomorrow, if it was dropped on Steam, it would probably have 100,000 on launch day with no advertising. I guarantee you, because of how well the day before was wishlisted on Steam. They have that genre locked up. They have something better than just ordinary zombies in factions. They have human PvP extraction type stuff. You go out there, get resources, and don't get eaten by the infected. That would sell like hotcakes, and people would be playing it. I wouldn't say nonstop, but it would definitely have a better lifespan than what Concord is doing right now. I totally agree with what Pong was saying as far as Guardians of the Galaxy co-op. That would have been like a nice addition to what they're doing with Helldivers, although they kind of spoiled the loot with the Helldivers, not just on the nerfs, but also on the PSN login stuff. But that would have made more sense to me as far as this type of game, like especially when they showed that trailer to introduce the game. Like if that had been the game and you were playing in co-op, I would have actually bought it. That would have actually been interesting enough to me to buy it. But when they started showing the actual game of the hero shooter arena kind of crap, no thanks. I'm not interested. And even if they didn't go with like, classic beauty kind of characters, which I totally agree that should be a thing in this game, or at least offer sliders or something. I don't know. But the characters themselves, like I said this when I first saw the trailer, it was like they showed the first 5, which looked like they spent a lot of time on those characters. The 5 that they were playing against looked as generic as humanly possible. Like I thought that I wasn't sure that it was going to be a PvP. I was like, are they playing against bots? Because who would want to be that woman with the blue trench coat? Like that's an actual character in the game. Like I don't understand how that even makes sense. Like it feels like somebody was like, oh, we have to have 16 of these. Oh well, here's a picture of my cousin. Let me just hurry up and throw them in the game. Like, no, what are we doing? Like, you at least want to have some sort of backstory to each one of these characters. And I guess they have something to that effect, but the fact, like what you guys were mentioning earlier, the fact that they didn't go into any of the detail for us to, fall in love with these characters, it's like, why, what is the draw to this game? If you want me to cough up $40, what are you doing different that Marvel Rivals isn't? Like, and that was the big thing also. They showed Marvel Rivals in the same state of play as this game, and it's free to play, and it's a Marvel licensed game. How did they even think this had a chance? Like, I honestly, Herman Hulse or Jim Ryan, somebody need. Well, Jim Ryan's already gone, so I don't know if this is quite the calling to make Hearst's head roll at this point. But hey, maybe his feet on the fire at this point. I'm pretty sure Hiroki Totoki is like, yeah, this can't happen again, kind of thing. So I just feel for Firewalk. Hopefully they remain open. Hopefully they remain open long enough at least to at least try to turn this game around, because I don't see how it goes up from here. Like I don't think this gets the Rainbow Six Siege revival kind of deal like so many other games have been able to stick around and reiterate, like Logan said earlier with Sea of Thieves. Like, I didn't think that was that bad of a game when it came out. Yeah, it was a little light on content, but at least the PvP action was enough of a draw in the beginning. But they kept at it. They kept adding content, and now it's like you're not going to go through all that content, even if you play daily for every day for a month kind of thing. You're going to still find new stuff, or not even get to the stuff because you're having to defend your ship or whatever the case may be. I don't see how them not having a season pass or battle pass for Concord, even though it's great that $40 covers for all the characters and all that stuff, but it just doesn't feel like they put much thought into how this games as a service model will fit this game, or how it fits within this game for the long haul. It just, I don't know. It does feel like they put it out to pasture kind of deal. But I hope for the best for Firewalk. Hopefully, this isn't going to be something that we hear about. Oh, well, the servers are shut down 6 months later, and they're splitting up the team and having them work on other projects. Because we already heard that some of Destiny or some of Bungie's stuff is being handed off to other teams. So who knows? But yeah, sucks that it didn't even do Lawbreaker numbers, and that should tell you there's a problem and they need to fix it. Just turn on the service for Faction 2 or Factions 2 tomorrow, and I guarantee you everybody will forget how bad this launched. But that's all I got.
I got a question for you guys. And we saw this. Well, let me let you address that first, PTK. You got
no. Go ahead. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. So the appreciate the Lotus Spirit. I mean, Spirit with the 10 Esprit. Sorry, with the 10 gifted sub. Appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much for that. Got to make sure we get that in. But go ahead.
Yeah. Also to the 2 terabyte Xbox comment that you asked about Lotus. I know Boom, I think, did it. Boom trading his Xbox in, and he's getting the 2 terabyte. I don't see the need to get it. He for me, I don't see the need because I don't game on it enough nowadays, and the ones I'm going to put on it are not going to need that much memory taken off of it, and I'll just erase them if I do, and so it's whatever for me. But shout out to those who get it. It looks beautiful. I want it, but I don't need it. That said, question for now, we saw this, and I saw plenty of people post about it. J-Rock, shout out to him, posted it. A few other people posted it. I couldn't help but notice it, and I was like, it's a fair point. We talk about how Xbox and PlayStation doesn't get the same smoke when it comes to the media, and Xbox got a ton of smoke for putting out Redfall, putting out, games that didn't show well. Even with Avowed here with 30 frames per second got more smoke than Concord is getting. And Concord has this kind of protective class thing going on about it right now, where people are like saying, hey, don't really speak negatively about it. And, oh, well, you shouldn't say anything about, because it's going to fail right now. Do you all have any thoughts on that? Like, did it make you feel a way that there was so much smoke given to Xbox in particular for their failures, but not anything for Sony in this particular case?
Does this even need to be talked about anymore, Umbra? We already know. Again, Xbox. I'm being serious too, because we did bring this up on a couple shows this week too. I just don't think it needs to be talked about anymore. People can say all the time that there's no bias. We know there's a bias. Sony is popular. PlayStation is popular. Okay, period, point blank. Xbox is not popular. They're not the cool kids in the room. And they will always be treated different. It doesn't matter what Xbox does. It doesn't matter how kumbaya Phil is. It doesn't matter how many games they put over on PlayStation or the Switch 2 when it shows up. It's not going to matter how friendly they are. They are still going to be treated as the nerdy kid sitting alone at the lunch table. It just is what it is. Only Nintendo and PlayStation are allowed in the cool kids club. And the media, because a lot of them are a part of the generation that was raised on PlayStation, is going to continue to believe that. No matter what they do, again, why don't we have articles being written about the lack of a roadmap? We had articles being written about Xbox's light year in 2022, right? We absolutely had articles being written about their first party. Why aren't we having articles written about Sony PlayStation canceling games, right? Where are their games as a service, right? Where's Fair Games, by the way? That's the next games as a service coming out of Haven. Jade Raymond's studio. Love Jade Raymond, by the way. Really worried about that game right now. Where is it? We haven't heard shit about it. That's the next one. But no, there's no articles about that, right? There's no articles questioning that at all. There's just articles writing about, PlayStation 5 still outselling PlayStation 4's pace, blah, blah, blah. Like, again, I think we all in this community by now should realize it. People can deny it all they want. People can come up with all the excuses they want. All the journalists can raise their voices and say, you guys don't know what you're talking about. We can just see it plain as day, okay? It is a different level of status between PlayStation and Xbox, and it's not going to change no matter what Xbox does. So yes, of course, Concord is going to be protected. Concord is not going to get the articles written
at all. It's going to be able to just disappear.
Can you imagine? Again, we now have confirmation from one of the devs, 8 years in development. Xbox had any game. My God, CDPR got more bad press about Cyberpunk in the lead up to their launch with their delays, that it was taking them 7 years to get a game out. If Xbox took 6 to 8 years to put out a games as a service and launch something like Concord, oh my God, we would have articles after articles being written. We'd have Schreier trying to find out how much money was spent and if the devs had to do any crunch in the last 3 months to get the game out the door, and what happened with the mismanagement style and how could this game take that long. Look at it, it's just a hero shooter and you got 16 characters and 12 maps on launch, and after 8 years, oh my God, the articles would be nonstop, bro. But we're no quiet.
Listen, I just wanted to get that. Yeah. I'm sure, Logan, I wanted to get your thoughts on it too, but all of you, if you want to talk on it. But you said everything I felt, and a lot of people are feeling. And I think, listen, I know there's like a specific cabal of people like we're going to tax Xbox, but it is the sentiment that is underneath all of that, and it's at their conscience to say, hey, they have a bias that just shows itself. I think, right, and that's part of it, because you're right. If Xbox would have done that, they would have been.
I'd have to delete X off my phone.
Bro,
I'd have to uninstall
we got
it.
articles being written that Xbox demanding that Xbox release a roadmap for PlayStation. What the? What is going on, bro? I mean, again, it can't be any more clear what this is all about. Anyways, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Logan. Get your bars off. Wrap this thing up. Bro.
I honestly, I feel like Pong. Actually, I want to comment on one of the things that you brought up about how the generation of people that are writing articles about the video game industry right now grew up playing a lot of games on PlayStation, and it makes me kind of sit back and wonder, is that because the games that they were playing over on PlayStation were some of the best games that are ever made due to either like the widespread appeal of like GTA or the narrative creations that they came up with, the story-based games, and it all kind of comes back to this idea of nostalgia, emotion, the thing that drives us. If you're not sure like how much emotion drives our choices and opinions and preferences, look at how you pick your significant other. There's an idea that I think that the reason why Sony is on top right now is not necessarily because Sony's doing the best moves in the industry. Honestly, I think Xbox is, and I think Nintendo is quietly ignored for all the stuff that they do that is horrible for the consumer.
Nintendo's probably the worst if we really peel everything back. Like they don't do anything. But go ahead.
But emotions drive their content. People feeling nostalgic about Mario, Zelda, Samus, Fox, all their characters, Pikmin. You look at it and you're like, yeah, I'm going to go buy those games because I grew up emotionally attached to those. I think we're seeing the same thing with a lot of the Sony. I don't want to call it bias, but I want to call it preference. Because it feels like just like I have a preference for Xbox, it doesn't mean that I'm against Sony. It just means I prefer to play on my Xbox ecosystem because I think that Game Pass is the best deal in gaming. I think that the content that they deliver is good enough that I want to invest my time in that as opposed to going out and spending $40 on Concord. Do I think Concord isn't going to get the heat that it should because of the type of lackluster appeal that it has? No, because I think the game itself is fairly sound. I think it's just not something people want right now. And I think in this day and age, trying to sell a new IP out on the market when you have zero lead up or zero interest in building, and this is one thing that I want to credit Xbox for. Phil and Todd Howard, they put out so much to get you invested in Starfield. All the little featurettes that they did, all the different things that they want to talk about. They spent an entire year building up the idea of what Starfield is going to be and how interested you're going to be in actually playing it. That Concord did not get the benefit for. And I think that says a lot to how much it takes to sell a new IP in this day and age, especially on a generation of games where people are used to what's the next Spider-Man? What's the next God of War? What's the next Horizon game? That's kind of where I feel like a lot of that is from. Do I think Concord deserves heat for what it is? It's still a well-made game from what I can tell, from what I understand. It's just it didn't sell well because people aren't caring about it.
Yeah. No, 100%.
The 8 reviews have it at 66.
I know.
so again, it's a fine game again mechanically, but like we were just saying that if Xbox did this, we saw it in Redfall. Redfall got slammed, bro.
And it wasn't this bad.
Redfall got destroyed.
Yeah. And it wasn't 600 players.
How could you launch this game? How could you let Arcane do this? What kind of mismanagement allowed Arcane to try to make this game and then drop it like it is, right? Yeah. Like, again, like we have examples, Logan, where it is kind of, I agree with your definitions of bias and preference, but I would say that there is definitely more of a bias overarching where there are a lot of people, not everybody, but a lot of people in the industry, especially journalists, that do want Xbox to fail, that don't want to see them around in gaming because Microsoft is their parent company, right? Yeah. And so I think we do have examptions where that is the case. That's what we were talking about. But your point is well taken.
I do. Sure. I always, it was like there was a bit of the spectrum that I wanted to kind of like put some light on because I feel like there are some folks out there, but I don't disagree that there are definitely people out there who want to see the PS5 like succeed as the next generation. They want another PS4 going into the PS5 and into the PS6. So they're going to be talking more about how the failures of Xbox are continuously like dooming that console until it's nothing and Xbox rebrands it to Sega 2 or something like that. But
God, that'd be amazing.
Let me make sure I pay some bills around here. We got Mash. Appreciate the 10 gifted subs. Another 10 gifted. Appreciate that. You guys are showing much love to us tonight, man. So anybody else got anything else? I just want to make sure.
I'll just say I'll just say we got to get used to Xbox and PlayStation being blue bubble, green bubble. Just think of Apple and Android. That's all it is, and that's all it's ever
a
going
great
to be.
analogy. Great analogy. Perfect analogy. So
Or
on
it's
that
like
note,
or it's like
go ahead.
that little meme where they have the person coming up to the lady saying, "Hey, you beautiful," and she's like, "Oh, hi," because he's handsome. And the other one guy coming up and he's I guess overweight and he's like, "Hey, beautiful." Ew, HR.
Yeah, exactly. Same situation.
Yeah.
Same situation. So no,
That's
great
a
points.
lot.
Yeah, facts. But great points, man. But I think we're gonna go ahead and wrap the show up on that note. It's been a phenomenal show. This is probably the longest show we've done in a long time, man. A very, very long time. But I appreciate we had some great guests, great topics. It makes sense that tonight's show would go a little longer because of all the topics we had. And I really enjoyed myself. So shout out to everybody in chat too that came through. Shout out to all the gifted subs, gifted membership. Sorry. Everything. You guys are freaking awesome. Like I said, second week back, and you guys are always showing up, supporting the show, and I hope you guys are enjoying it. We're gonna continue to do our thing, but let me get around the horn here. Let everybody get their bars off and their outros. Logan, appreciate you coming through, brother. Fantastic. Always love having you come through, man. But let everybody know where they can find you, brother.
Oh man, I appreciate it. Thanks again for letting me come on. If you guys want to check out my content, Sea of Thieves is my main dig with Keelhauled podcast, but come hang out with me and Luke Lore for the Insipid Ghost over at Xbox Expansion Pass Saturday mornings, 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 p.m. Eastern. We're doing pretty much what we're doing here, but we usually fight less. That's we usually if you guys want the shorter episodes, just don't you don't have to bring me on. I won't come out with the hot takes, but I definitely appreciate coming talk about this because I love this forum. It's beautiful here. I love you guys.
Awesome, bro. We love having you here too. And once again, go show Logan some love. Go show XCP some love. The boy Luke popped in here for a little while, so appreciate you, Luke, for coming through, bro. Thank you so much. But Logan will be back. He'll be back on the show. Always love having him here, man. Shout out to you for coming through as well too, brother. So throw this over to Umbra. Appreciate you, brother. You know, I know you stayed up. You got your beauty mask on and everything, probably finishing up the show. But appreciate you.
Help shit.
Appreciate you coming. God damn, appreciate you. He giveth and taketh away, right? I appreciate you coming through, Umbra. But let everybody know where they can find you, brother.
Yes. Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure to be here to talk amongst these greats in YouTube, Pong. And yeah, man, you all can find me, of course, on Twitter, X, Infinite Umbra, or Umbra Infinite. You'll find me either way. Appreciate hearing all you guys' takes and thoughts on things like this. While I posited some of these questions out there like that, just to get your views on it. We all have a right to our opinions on whatever. So it is what it is. Mm-hmm. Yeah, as far as where else you can find me as far as podcasting on Tuesdays, Xbox Factor with Boom and Jamie, aka Jamie Moran. I forgot what does he go under another name? Listen, it's Jamie Moran. Thursdays, my show, The Fix with Daniel J. McGee. We got to get you on there sometime, Logan. I know, Pong, you are unfortunately busy at the same time.
Yes.
Trying to encroach on my territory. No, I'm joking.
We were there first.
You were there first. That's true.
Man,
you actually go an hour before us, so we got a little time difference where the audience can kind of say, "Hey, I'll support you a little bit too, Umbra." But yeah, so Thursdays The Fix at 8:00 Eastern, and on Fridays typically is the Infinite podcast. But Risk It is over in Germany right now at the Gamescom and such, and mingling with all of the good folks over there. And so for now, tomorrow we should be having the Infinite podcast around 3 o'clock Eastern. So if you guys want to come by Risky's channel on YouTube and check us out, myself, Risky for the Biscuit, that blue number, and my boy Dante, aka Spriggan. So yeah, come by and check us out. And much love to you guys on the panel. Much love to you guys in the chat.
Appreciate you, man. You guys know what to do. Go follow Umbra. All the information is going to be down below on Umbra. You my brother. Appreciate you coming through. He'll be back many times, at the dismay of Pong, but he'll be back. But appreciate you, bro. Always taking your time to come on. I know you can't always make it, but when you do, it's always a special show, brother.
It's a pleasure.
Yeah. No problem, bro. Always love having you on. Dave, glad you could make it. I know you weren't feeling well, Dave, but you still, made it in here, bro. But let everybody know they can find you as well, brother.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we'll be on YouTube and on X at Outbreak Gamers. is the way you find it on YouTube. So thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. Tomorrow night's guest will be Mr. Boomstick. Let's see, Hargeet Johnny and Crispy Bomb tomorrow night. So, and me with some more medication. Excellent.
Appreciate you,
Feel better.
Dave. Yeah, feel better too, bro. Man, came through, wasn't feeling well, and still came through. So I appreciate the support, Dave. And every time I send something out, you always show love, or you always get back to me, let me know what's going on. So thank you for making a little bit of time, even though you weren't feeling well, brother. And we wish you the best of your health and everything. Hopefully for a speedy recovery here, get you back in good health. But thank you for making it either way.
My pleasure.
And my boys, man, my two brothers in real life, Pong Fuzz, a special show 350. I didn't even talk about that at the beginning of the show at all, but another milestone hit together as usual, brothers. But we'll start with you, Pong, brother. Let everybody know where they can find you, man.
Yeah, awesome show. Obviously great. God, it's good to be back in the saddle each and every Saturday night now again with you, PTK, and of course Fuzzy as well. Love the discussions tonight. Love the discourse. Even Steele and I got into it this morning a little bit on Living Split Screen too. I mean, when I say get into it, it just means that we're coming from opposite sides.
Yeah, fact.
You know, that's what's good about this community too, and the people that we have on our podcast, that we can have those discussions. A lot of places can't even have people that do differ in opinions at all. Most of the time we don't, because a lot of us see the kind of the same have the same general perception about a lot of these topics, but you will get nights like this where there are some differences. So appreciate obviously Umbra and Logan, and definitely of course Dave, again gutting it out, and even taking a contrarian point of view on the 30 frames and taking the heat. Love it, Dave. But no, appreciate you brothers for coming on by, and again adding to that energy of this week. And this week has been high energy. We didn't even talk about a lot. There's so much from Gamescom. We could have like 2 or 3 of these shows, man. But that's the energy that comes with these things, and I love it. And it's a part of the passion that we all have, and why we do this, and why we have an amazing chat that comes out and listens to us BS about it for a couple hours, right? So I enjoy this, and it's never personal for any of this stuff. It's always just good discussions amongst people who just love this industry, man. So thank you all for being here. Another great episode of the Shop Podcast. You guys know where to find me. Pongsoul on X, formerly known as Twitter, Pongsoul on the Xbox, Pongsoul on Steam, Pongsoul on GOG, Pongsoul on Epic. Anywhere, find me and I will find you back. Otherwise, you know the drill. Next week, Double Barrel Gaming is the channel, Boomstick's the man, All Good Things Green every Tuesday. I'm not on any of Boomstick's shows anymore, but I still shout him out for all the good he has done to everybody, including myself. But Xbox Factor Podcast is the show that I kind of, was one of my first permanent panels, right? So I always give love to it. Tuesdays, 12 p.m. Eastern, 11 o'clock Central Time, All Good Things Green. My podcasting week starts Thursday, of course, with Mr. Sniffles, aka Fun Speculation, aka Mav, on Thursday nights, Fun Speculation Network. It is PM in the PM, Pong and Mav in the PM, 2-man show, but we get the chat involved. We usually go for about 3+ hours. Join us there, 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 o'clock Central Time, and then we are back at it on Friday nights over on the Fun Speculation Network yet again when we get the family together. Last night was fun. We had 3-Bit, Fuzzy, Mav, and myself, and it was great to have 3-Bit on. We don't get him every week, so it was great to have his opinions. But we have a good time on Friday nights, no matter how many of us are there. So join Xbox Ultimate Friday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 o'clock Central Time. And of course, Saturday mornings, you got to buckle up because you got the 2-man team, the one and only Mr. Live, Raw, and Uncut himself, Steel, Rain, and myself. We get your morning started. We'll take you from morning to afternoon, or afternoon to evening, depending on where you are in the world, because we go 4+ hours. Let's just say it what it is. 4+ hours every Saturday, starting at 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 o'clock Central Time. Split Screen is all one word. It is living split screen. We have amazing conversation. You never know what's going to happen Saturday mornings. 2 weekends ago, we were trying to solve some big issues outside of video games. We got an whole conversation. Our chat took us one way. This morning, we were in the middle of intros and talking about what we've been playing, and all of a sudden we started the whole damn show because we got on Indiana Jones, then we got on Xbox, then we got on PlayStation, and we just rolled that way for about the first 2 hours, and then we went back. So Again, never planned. Living Split Screen is as organic as it gets between me and Steele, and we get the chat involved. So join us there every Saturday for that. And then, of course, God willing, I'll be back here next Saturday evening with two of my favorite people in the world, PTK Blam, Fuzzy, and I imagine a guest or two that will be amazing right here on the Shop Podcast, everybody. So listen, y'all, it's Golden Age Gaming. I can't say this enough. Stop with the nonsense that gaming sucks, that there is... I can't stand this conversation anymore. Get out, go get a new hobby. Let those of us enjoying it enjoy it, because my God, gaming is amazing. Next year is shaping up to be the 3rd year in a row of just an avalanche of gaming content everywhere, anywhere you are. What an amazing time to be a gamer. Get out there, enjoy it. Have a great rest of your weekend. Play what you love what you play, and I will talk to you real soon. PTK. Thanks, brother.
Appreciate you. And last minute too, shout out to Dante coming through with the 5 gifted subs, man. Thank you. Appreciate that, man. That's, you guys showing some hella love tonight. Shout out to Dante, my boy, man. He actually live out here where I live at. We gotta link up, bro. But yeah, shout out to you, Pong, for coming through. Always the Duracell battery at the Shop Podcast. This show would not be what it is or where it's at without your energy, brother. So every single week, man. My brother, love you, man, for sure. Fuzz, go ahead and get us on up out of here, Fuzz, with that smooth voice.
Well, this was an awesome show. Awesome guests on here tonight. Always love hearing Umbra, Logan, and Web Dave. Love hearing your thoughts on things. And even if we don't agree or see eye to eye, it's always an awesome conversation, giving different perspectives on things. So always love having that energy and different viewpoints on things. So that was pretty awesome tonight. And always love doing the podcast with you, PTK Bam and Pong. Always a good time. Got to probably get back into gaming here if you guys are going to hop on Diablo sometime soon. But this was an awesome night. Thanks to everybody in the chat. Greatly appreciate you guys coming out. And if you haven't already, please hit the like button. Subscribe if you haven't already. Greatly appreciate it. And for those that want to hear my rambles and rants on anything gaming related, just follow me on the app formerly known as Twitter at fuzzy_Belvedere. No Pixelated Echo Sunday. We'll have an episode on Tuesday, but you can also find me on Xbox Lunch Break Special Monday, 12 noon on Double Barrel Gaming with Mr. Boomstick. And then later that evening, FSP with Mav on Fun Speculations channel at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Monday night. And then on Friday, if you guys haven't found out yet, please check out my wife's podcast. If you're into horror or any movies where it's like paranormal or slashers or things like that, check out her podcast, Fright Night with Ferocious Fee, at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on her channel. Just do a search for Ferocious Fee on YouTube and you should be able to find it. And then hope to be right back here Saturday, same time, same place, same channel. Look forward to seeing you guys with the Shop Podcast in the chat next Friday or next Saturday at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Look forward to seeing you then.
All right, man. Last but not least, the host here, PTK Blam. Hit me up everywhere. X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. Xbox Live as well too. PTK Blam across the board. Once again, shout out to everybody that came out and showed love. This panel is phenomenal tonight. Love all these gentlemen here. Please go support every single one of them. Go follow the podcast. Go listen to them. All the the Twitters, everything. Make sure you guys go do that. Because they take their time to come out here and make sure that, we have a phenomenal show every single week. But once again, same place, same time. You guys are always showing up here, showing out. We will be back. Probably multiple guests again next week, trying to line things up as we speak. So probably doing it again next week. So I appreciate you guys. You guys enjoy the rest of your Saturday night. Peace out, everybody. Be safe.
Deuces.